Chapter 140 Potion Exams. Right now. The trio of disciples stepped back from Nathan's home. They walked towards the girls while Michael silently watched this scene unfold. Holy shit, then we also have to run away from teacher Olivia. She forces every student to take these bloody alchemy exams, even those who don't take alchemy. Bloody hell, there was genuine fear in those disciples' faces. Brother go dash, it's okay, just point me in the direction of the potion lab, Michael chuckled, asking the disciple to show him the way while they escaped this dreaded exam of Olivia. Ghost? Whoa! How long were you? The three girls were stunned to hear the voice from behind. They turned back, almost jumping back in shock. Hello, Michael gave a short wave at the girls who were staring at him and the dragon with open mouths. Instantly their faces turned red as they started breathing heavily. What? You haven't seen a guy before? Gaia got irritated looking at these girls almost having an orgasm just by checking him out. Her voice immediately brought back the girls from their trance. Cold sweats could be seen on their rosy cheeks. They stuttered, "Oh, sorry brother ghost, can you give us an autograph?" One of the girls reached her hand out while the other handed him over the quill. Sure, only on hands. Gaia saw one girl lowering her top to show off her cleavage. She knew the girl was going to ask him to sign her ample chest, but Gaia's eyes made the girl correct her dress in an instant. Lucky bastard, thought the three male disciples, sighing in envy noticing the fire in the girl's eyes. Hoo-hoo-hoo, after the disciples showed him the direction to go to the potion lab, they ran as fast as they could to escape the exams. While he was on the way, the baby dragon nudged his ear, making a weak groan. What's he saying? He said that he wants to sleep. She didn't even turn to look at the baby dragon on his shoulder, she just shrugged and said, "Are you okay?" Michael creased his brows, asking the baby dragon to see him nod his little head. Well, you must have been tired. Michael gently grabbed the baby dragon. He then placed the baby dragon in his coat inner pocket, the baby dragon's favorite cozy place to snuggle and sleep. Who is this Olivia? Michael asked surprised. A few moments ago, this place was buzzing with disciples and life, but now, it turned into a ghost town. Not a single disciple could be seen roaming outside except for Gaia and him. Do you think she's beautiful? He asked, teasing her for his time pass. Why do you ask? He could hear the gritting sound of her teeth. She clenched her fist, ready to pounce him if he tried to bang Olivia, just like he did with Sadie. What do you think? He said, slyly winking at Gaia to flame the fans of her jealousy. Just like he planned, she gnashed her teeth. You lecherous fuck. She couldn't control herself after seeing that wry smile on his face. She put her head into his arms and started to punch him on his gut. Of course, she didn't use her full strength but only enough to hurt him a little. Michael on the other hand laughed and kept knocking her on the head. Ouch, squealed Gaia, continuing to rain punches on his gut. You too. Suddenly a shout came from their back while they were playing. They immediately stopped what they were doing. They turned back to see a green-haired woman with an almost perfect hourglass figure walking towards them. Her shiny lush green hair fluttered in the wind, the golden robes were contrasting to her hair. She seemed to be in her early 30s or late 20s in Michael's eyes. She was a tad bit shorter than both Michael and Gaia, plus, she had hazel eyes behind those round glasses, sharp eyebrows. She was beautiful, not on the same level with Gaia or Alicia or even Claire, but she was definitely prettier than Selena or Nyla. Many loved green or pink-haired girls, but he always held a thought that these hair colors are just weird and spoil a girl's beauty. Michael looked closer, tracing the arch energy in her body to find she was at core formation level 7, only a few months cultivation away from reaching the next level. Where do you think you two are going? Who dash? Gaia's question was interjected by the woman. Shut up, I don't want to hear any excuses, you can't escape this exam. Michael realized this woman is the famous teacher Olivia who made the disciples shudder in fear. But we are dash, again. The woman stopped Gaia before she could finish her sentence. She stared at Michael for a moment before speaking. You must be one of those disciples who think so highly of themselves because of their talent for cultivation. He knew there's no stopping this lady as she went on. You may know hundreds of powerful battle spells, but no spell would close a wound in your body. If you don't have a basic knowledge of alchemy to find a herb with healing properties, you sir will die. Unless of course, someone bails you. You rich kids always need saving, no self-dependence at all. Gaia wanted to slap Olivia to make her stop, but Olvia's status as a teacher of Aragoth saved her from getting smacked from Gaia. If you don't finish brewing a basic healing potion by the end of this day, you won't have any resources for your cultivation for the next 2 months, plus, detention, lady. The moment Gaia opened her mouth to address her as lady, Olivia grabbed the snake's ear, twisted it. The girls are worse than the boys, no respect for their teachers. Michael wanted to save Gaia, but his instincts told him to exploit Olivia's misunderstandings to earn some sweet badass points. Shut up and come with me, take your hands off me, human. Human. What are you, miss? Olivia kept twisting her ears while walking towards the potion lab. Calm down, Elia. Michael controlled the urge to burst into laughter seeing Gaia receiving a taste of her own medicine from Olivia. You bastard, lady, you're, what a foul-mouthed girl. It seems I need to teach you some discipline too. Realizing that her human wouldn't save her and she beat the heck out of this teacher because of her status, Gaia gritted her mouth. No more curses came out of her mouth. I'm coming, let go. Eventually, after walking for a few minutes, Olivia let go of Gaia's ear after she asked her to. On their way to the potion lab, Olivia hunted down a few other disciples who were unfortunate enough to get caught. Olivia chewed them down, explaining why alchemy is important for all of them regardless of which specialization the disciples preferred. Michael realized that she's trying to make alchemy a compulsory subject in Aragoth. Many displeased seemed to disagree with Olvia's plan, but Michael could only pity these ignorant disciples. Before learning alchemy through the system, even he was ignorant of the power of alchemy, but soon, he was proven wrong, very wrong. Alchemy was such an overpowered skill to have. He knew potion or pills to overcome almost every problematic situation. If you want to temporarily increase the cultivation level, there was a potion for that. Are you born ugly? Don't worry, there's a pill to make a girl pretty and a boy handsome. You want to fake death? There's a pill for that too. Michael thought. If one was willing to make a necessary sacrifice, one could do anything with alchemy. Even though many would argue that rune mastery was the most overpowered specialization, Michael would argue otherwise because his most powerful weapon was created through alchemy, the fear toxin, not to mention he was earning a shitload of gold coins because of his alchemy skills. Of course, he couldn't care less if they don't want to learn alchemy. After all, the fewer the alchemists in this world, the more the demand for him. Intentionally walked behind all the disciples so they wouldn't recognize him too soon, spoiling the upcoming badass points fest. Olivia had no idea that her idol, the man who she was trying to meet in person ever since she heard about him, was just walking behind her. If she had known it was him, she would have freaked out. Eventually, Michael reached a tall building with an attractive lawn in front of it. The lawn itself showed the prestige of Aragoth as he saw many expensive uncommon herbs planted as mere decoration. They soon entered the building following Olivia. The air inside was filled with a medicinal fragrance of herbs and alchemy ingredients. They walked into the open door to the wide hallway. Upon the walls were the paintings of older men whom Michael guessed as some famous alchemists. The floor was an old-fashioned parquet with a blend of deep homely browns, and the walls were the greens of summer gardens meeting a bold white baseboard. Finally, after walking through the corridors, they came in front of a classroom and saw the words Potion Classroom written in beautiful calligraphy on the wall above the large green door. Here we go. Michael was hit by massive nostalgic memories of Harry Potter as he stepped into the potion classroom with a faint smile on his face. The classroom was large enough to allow at least 50 students to work, and its walls were lined with pickled creatures and weird-looking herbs in glass jars. In one corner of the room stood a basin into which bluish water poured from a gargoyle's mouth, while in another was a line of 6-feet-tall cupboards. The students who were already inside the classroom were so focused on the task on their hands as they even ignored looking at the newcomers. On the far end of the room, one of the busy students was Nathan. Just like others, he failed to notice Michael among the crowd. Closing the door, Olivia went straight to the long wooden table under a giant statue of a tree. She then flicked her wrist as rows of herbs and ingredients appeared on the table. Those who are my students, brew a disease cure potion while the others brew a basic healing potion. You can refer to the books on the cupboard over there, she said, pointing at the lines of cupboards. Chapter 141, Keep your eyes on the cauldron. When a few disciples looked up, taking their eyes away from their table, Olivia shouted at them, making them quickly look down. Michael's eyes were on Nathan, but the young master of House Bradley was busy trying to figure out the right detail leaves to Ivory ration. For a 5-star alchemist like Michael, the disease cure potion was a child's play, but Nathan and these disciples were not 5-star alchemists. Go on, take your ingredients, Olivia said, looking at her alchemy students while the others rushed towards the cupboards cursing Olivia under their breaths. The alchemy students buried to the table to pick the freshest of the herbs, partnering with him, said Gaia stubbornly. Alright, since you two aren't alchemy students, I'll let you partner up, but I want 2 healing potions, Olivia said, raising 2 fingers in the air. He just nodded at Olivia. Walking to the table, he saw the leftover herbs. What are you doing? First, you need the basic book of alchemy, Olivia said while Michael was looking at the herbs and ingredients before him on the table. I think I can brew a simple potion without a book, Teacher Olivia. He was not trying to sound arrogant, but in Olivia's eyes, his tone and look seemed extremely arrogant. Oh, a simple potion, huh? Let me see your alchemy prowess. It was evident she didn't like the way he talked. She made it obvious by her sarcastic tone. She wanted to teach this arrogant bastard a lesson after he failed miserably. However, the next moment, he surprised her by picking up the right herbs from the table. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Hold this. Michael handed over the herbs to Gaia. He then rolled up his sleeves before conjuring the green alchemy flames. Wait. Olivia was stunned knowing that the green flames couldn't be summoned by anyone except alchemists. Olivia's shout broke many disciples' concentration. They instantly looked up in the direction of the commotion to see her staring at the green flames hovering above a black-robed youth's hands in shock. Don't try this anywhere. Before Olivia could stop him, all the ingredients flew straight into the green flames. Ghost, from the distant Nathan recognized him immediately. You need a cauldron. Olivia shouted at him, but she soon closed her when a fist-sized ball of pure essence floated above the green flames. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. His lips curved upwards. He would never get tired of this sweet notification sound, no matter how many times he hears it. One by one, the essence shot above the green flame. Olivia was speechless. She just stared at the pure essence above the green flames. One could not extract the essence from the herbs with this much purity unless he's a godly level genius. Besides, he used the technique of extracting the essence using no cauldron. She didn't know anyone who could do that except one person, Ghost. But how could he be here? She thought. In the next moment, all the 11 essences that were floating above came closer to merge as one big ball of the essence. Michael flicked his wrist. The green flames slowly faded away. Bring me 5 vials, she said to Gaia, making her lock eyes with the girls staring at him from the front table. She went straight to those disciples and took their vials, asking no permission. Give me those. The girls were too focused on Michael to protect their empty vials from Gaia. Under the shocked gazes of Olivia as well as the disciples, Michael moved his hand, splitting the one ball of essence into 5 balls before sending them flying into the empty vials. How did he? Look at the purity. Who is he? So handsome, so talented, aha, I never thought I would see a day. Teacher Olivia shut her mouth. Teacher Olivia is 4-star alchemist, but I have never seen her brew that potion this quickly, so you're saying. I know him, he's Ghost of Rivertown, the 5-star alchemist of Bredia. The second best alchemist of Bredia. Instantly the previous silent classroom filled with murmuring. Few who recognized Michael shouted in shock. Olivia leaned on the table to prevent her body from falling down in overwhelming shock. You asked me 2 potions. Hey, race 5-inch. The 5 vials of glistening healing potions flew right into her hands as she subconsciously reached out to grab the potions. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. The notification sounds went crazy in his head, making him earn almost 8,000 badass points in a couple of seconds. Our name is Ghost, Teacher Olivia. It's a pleasure to meet you, he said with a warm smile on his face. Well, not for me, Gaia said, rubbing her reddened ear. Olivia showed an expression of embarrassment. The Dispels, witnessing their teacher's face turning red, didn't know whether to laugh or not. The disciples closest to Olivia knew that ever since this ghost appeared out of nowhere and proved himself as a 5-star alchemist, Olivia was talking non-stop about him, the method he was using to brew potions and concoct pills. She even paid a merchant a whopping amount of 12,000 gold coins for his healing potion, not because she has too many gold coins but because she wanted to get her hands on the potions as soon as possible. The only thing that stopped her from traveling to the Sunrise sect was her busy schedule. Since the alchemy competition of Kingdom Kethin was just around the corner, she had to prepare her students for the competition. She was studying the potion, and few female disciples suspected that she was studying the potion and him. Only because Nathan was one of her closest and top disciples, he knew about her interest in Ghost's alchemy talents and promised him to get the contract for supplying alchemy products for the outer circle. Michael had no idea that he has an admirer, a die-hard fan in Aragoth. The pleasure is all mine. Lord. Sir. Master, she stuttered, searching for the right word to address him by. Ghost would do just fine. Teacher Olivia, he chuckled when calling her teacher. Although she was a 4-star alchemist who was just a 1-star away from reaching 5-star, everyone knew the gap between a 4-star and a 5-star is like heaven and hell. Only a few 4-star alchemists reached the 5-star in their lifetime, while others just died as a 4-star in old age. Reaching the next star level was damn hard regardless of their talent. It required guidance, a humongous amount of resources, and hard work. For Olivia, the latter two weren't a problem, but the first one, guidance. That was why she was hoping to meet Ghost. She wanted to study alchemy from him as his disciple. She was willing to pay any price except her body, of course. I can't, she shook her head. Ghost, while Olivia was struggling to find a way to ask him what she wants, Nathan came to greet Michael and also break the news to Michael. Michael greeted him back with a smile. Unlike the previous events, Nathan too widely grinned at him in return. Do you know him? Olivia asked, surprised. Nathan nodded and spoke. Teacher, Ghost, if you follow me, lead the way. Before Olivia could ask further questions, Michael gestured at him to lead the way while Olivia followed him behind to her room, which was located adjacent to the potion classroom. Walking behind them, Gaia creased her brows. She could tell by looking at Olivia's body language that she needed something from him. As long as it was not a place at Michael's heart, she might consider giving it to her, if she was willing to pay the right price. Until she came to Aragoth, she only wanted to test herself whether she has deep feelings for Michael using the love potion, but after seeing the way these girls look at him, she wanted to check if he has any feelings for her before some girl steals him from her. Having more than one wife was normal, but Gaia didn't want to share his soulmate with anyone else. She would rather kill all her competitions than share him. If he tried to find another love anywhere else after sealing the deal with her, she would leave him after killing that girl. In simple words, she hated harems. After leaving Aragoth, she decided not to waste any more time. The first thing she wanted to do after reaching Sunrise Sect is to find a way to make him drink the love potion. Of course, Michael did not know what this snake was scheming inside her head. He was too busy imagining the rain of gold coins he would receive after signing the contract with Aragoth. Chapter 142. Olivia's room was a textbook definition of a girl's room, alphabetically ordered book on the book rack. Paintings of her role models who were some old men adorned the pinkish walls while a faint fragrance of forest roses permitted the air. In the center of the room, a round sofa and a glass tea table could be seen. Obviously, the sofa was not as nearly fancy or luxurious as the sofas in Michael's room. Compared to those, what was in front of them was mediocre, at best. On the corner stood a tall table where Gaia saw lines of expensive liquors. She then changed her gaze towards the corner. Gazing at the vials of perfumes, she inhaled deeply only to be overwhelmed by the fragrance those small vials were radiating. Expensive liquors, honest brand perfumes, this bitch is rich. The latter changed Gaia's expression significantly because honest was a brand used by only the richest, such as the royal family of a powerhouse kingdom and powerful female cultivators. An ordinary noble or even a queen of a small kingdom had no chance of getting an honest perfume. Gaia hated spending her own money in extravagances like that. Instead, she always used the money to bribe ministers to extend her power in her father's regime or bought cultivation resources. It was Sonali, her stepsister, who would spend a large number of gold coins in just perfume bottles alone. Because of that, Gaia knew about the cost of honest perfumes. After spending the last 6 months with Gaia closely, Michael learned to read even the smallest changes in her face. He could tell by looking at her face that she's yelling Olivia seemed to be crazy rich, human. Please, make yourselves home. Olivia gestured at Michael to take a seat as she went to the liquor stand to pour him a drink. Just hot water with a few drops of angel lime for me and Elia, said Michael after noticing a crown-shaped fruit in one of the herb pots. Oh? Olivia was surprised but quickly grabbed one of the fruit and poured their drinks. What happened? Nathan asked with a slightly amused smile on his face. Michael began to explain the events before the potion brewing after Olivia gave him the drink with an embarrassed smile. Teacher, you should really stop making other disciples take alchemy tests, Nathan said, chuckling at his teacher's little adventure with Ghost. All disciples should at least have basic knowledge in alchemy, Nathan. I keep telling this to the higher-ups but they just don't listen. In some situations, a simple potion or pill might save one's life. Am I right? She asked looking at Michael. Her smile grew bigger seeing him nod in approval. Speaking of alchemy, Nathan, his voice trailed off. Knowing the meaning of his words, Nathan turned his gaze towards Olivia. Oh, the contract. Wait a sec, teacher, tell me where it is. I'll go. She quickly waved at him before he could stand up. It's okay, Teacher Harms has the contract, I'll get it. Nathan nodded realizing she wants him to open the matter of tutoring her. After Olivia left the room, Michael opened his mouth before Nathan. She wants something, am I right? Nathan was taken aback by surprise but soon, he chuckled, that obvious huh? Yep, look Ghost, I don't like to beat around the bush. The contract is yours. Teacher Olivia is the one who decides who gets the contract and when I recommended you, she immediately signed the contract, no questions asked. If you just want this one contract for the outer circle, you can take this and go, no one will stop you but what? Gaia asked, not showing any expression of annoyance on her face. Michael did not utter any word, he just waited for Nathan to tell him what she wanted from him. She's hoping to become your disciple, Ghost. Michael couldn't help but be surprised by this sudden request while Gaia sighed in relief. For a moment, she thought that Oliva would like to become one of his wives. That's unexpected. Michael rubbed his chin, weighing the pros and cons of taking her in as his disciples. Tell us about her more. Gaia took the initiative to ask Nathan. Michael sensed the snake had hatched a plot to take advantage of Olivia. This was why he loved to have her around. Well, Nathan started to tell them about Olivia, sighing in relief that Ghost didn't refuse to tutor her right off the bat. A few minutes after Nathan finished telling them about Olivia, both Michael and Gaia had a wide grin on their faces. According to Nathan, Olivia was the daughter of Reginald Palmer, the vice president of the Rain Shade, one of the influential merchant guilds in the entire Elon continent. This explained the expensive liquors and bottles of honest perfumes. Taking in a teacher of Aragoth already outweighed the cons, but her status as the daughter of Reginald Palmer sealed the deal for Michael. Soon in the future, he would expand his alchemy business. At that time, instead of building an infrastructure of large-scale business from the ground up, he could use the Rain Shade to grow his business. After all, supplying products to all corners of the continent was not as simple as selling them in the Majestic. What made him more excited thinking about the future was Nathan's family, the House of Bradley. The House Bradley's main source of income was providing security. They were basically a private security firm of this world with many powerful individuals among them. With House Bradley and Rain Shade, he would be able to get his business up and running, without worrying about security or nooks and crannies of business. Besides, by taking Olivia as his disciples, the Sunrise sect would automatically become a place under Aragoth's protection. He needed some kind of protection if he wanted to keep his herbal garden from getting robbed by some powerful rogue cultivators. Moreover, Olivia was at core formation level 7 who would definitely have some devastating spells to destroy his enemies, if he needed her to. If everything goes according to his plans, in the future, he would make Olivia his subordinate and appoint her as the head of the alchemy chains in his business empire. Both Michael and Gaia looked at each other, a wolf-like smile flashed across their faces. Embark, just in time, Olivia entered the room. Her smile froze on her face after she noticed everyone's eyes on her. She assumed that Nathan had asked Ghost about tutoring her while she was away. What's it gonna be, Ghost? Olivia's heart began to punch against her chest. She shivered, looking at Michael. She very well knew that this could be a life-changing moment for her. Why don't you step forward and ask me yourself? When he first met her, she was like a fierce lioness, scaring all the disciples, but now, she turned into a meek cat. She slowly stepped forward, praying to her sun god that he would accept her as his disciple. For her, his age or where did he learn what he does didn't matter. All she wanted was to learn what he knows, at least a drop of his ocean of knowledge. Nathan almost jumped back when Olivia dropped to her knees. Will you please accept me as your disciple and impart your knowledge in alchemy to me? She bowed her head, directly coming to the point without beating around the bush. Michael looked at Gaia to see her nod and then, he spoke in a clear voice, if I accept you as my disciples, will you obey me and my friend here? Nathan slightly frowned when he saw him asking Olivia, a core formation cultivator, to obey a mere body refining stage cultivator, but he remained silent. Yes, however, Olivia said, taking not even a second to think. Will you remain loyal to your teacher? Her heartbeat increased every passing second. I will forever be loyal to my teacher. Will you disclose the knowledge you get from me without my permission? Again she took no time before answering him. I will not. Michael raised her chin to see the honesty in her eyes. In those hazel eyes, he saw nothing but a thirst for knowledge. Then I will accept you as my first student, Olivia Palmer. The very next second, her eyes welled up, body trembled, she was overwhelmed by joy. Soon, tears rolled down on her rosy cheeks. Thank you, teacher. Despite his age or cultivation level, she uttered the word teacher with utmost respect and admiration. My fee is, in the future when I need, promise me that you'll do your best to assist us. Of course, Michael was not doing this out of the goodness in his heart, but he was planning to catch the big fish with the small fish. In this case, the big fish was her father's favor while the small fish was his fee of teaching her. I promise you, teacher, you can count on me. His image in her heart grew taller after hearing that he will not be greedy and sell the knowledge for gold coins. However, Nathan somewhat refused to believe Ghost completely because he did not seem like the man who would do charities, yet Nathan said nothing. As far as he was concerned, everyone got what they wanted. Olivia became Ghost's student. He kept his word by getting Ghost the contract he promised. This was a win-win situation for everyone. Nathan, give this to the sect leader. After wiping off the tears on her face, Olivia retrieved a letter from her space ring. What is that? Michael asked before she could hand the letter over to Nathan. "My resignation letter, teacher. I can't teach while studying under you." "No, you can't resign," Michael almost blurted out blood after hearing her. She almost poured mud on his perfect plan. Chapter 143, People learn the most when teaching others, Michael quickly said calmly despite the shock he just got from Olivia. "Until I say so, continue to teach. I'm very sure the sect leader won't like losing a teacher like you." How hard would it be to build a one-man portal connecting Aragoth and the Sunrise sect? Gaia asked a rhetorical question as Nathan threw in its doable look. In this world, a portal was used to travel from one place to another in an instant by temporarily creating a gateway between two places. This method of traveling was not without its downfalls. One of those downfalls was, the longer the distance and the bigger the portal, the more unstable the gateway. Also, building a portal between two places required an immense amount of rare resources and at least a 3-star alchemist, depending on the portal's distance and size. As the name suggests, the mini-portal could only let one person travel through 1 or 2 times a day. These were the reasons why Michael didn't bother to build a portal between the Sunrise sect and the Dark Forest. Moreover, there was already a teleportation array in the Abyssal. Only if he could repair the array, he would be able to travel to any corner of the world in an instant, as the array in Abyssal was a powerful intricate array. According to the system, he needed either a 5-star runemaster or system level 5.0 to completely repair the array. For now, Michael had no urgent need for this teleportation array or a portal. Instead, he wanted to buy a teleportation skill and upgrade it to the level where he could travel anywhere before one could snap. Although lightning dash was fast, teleporting was faster and more badass. "They are right, teacher. Sect Master would definitely build a mini portal for you to travel between. Besides, who would teach and prepare us for the Cathan competition if you resigned?" Nathan did not even need to ask whether Ghost would teach them or not, as he already knew the answer. No, he won't. Nathan was right, because Michael would rather eat, sleep and train rather than prepare a bunch of youngsters for a competition. "How much time do you spend here teaching?" Michael asked. 3 hours a day. "I'll spend the rest of my day cultivating and studying," Olivia said with a faint smile on her face. Just by looking at her face, Michael could tell that the higher-ups would definitely build her a portal. After all, resources and gold coins were not something Aragoth lacked. "All right, take a few days to settle everything here. I'll come pick you after I visited Nathan's home." Nathan didn't forget that his uncle asked Ghost to visit him as soon as he finishes cultivating. However, Nathan creased his brows after he heard him. "Didn't you say you were going to break through?" "I did." The very next moment, Nathan looked closer at the flow of Ghost's arch-energy. Whoa! Nathan's eyes widened. Looking at Nathan, Olivia looked closer at Ghost to be startled by his cultivation level. "Teacher, I thought you were..." "Teacher, you... How?" Olivia was speechless. She heard from Nathan that Ghost was at level 10 body refining stage while they were in Netherrealm. It was only a few days after they came out, yet he jumped from body refining stage level 10 to body strengthening stage level 5. This was too much. This was a heaven-defying cultivation speed. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,200 badass points. Nathan's world was spinning around him, making him hard to stand still. Olivia, on the other hand, was overwhelmed by shock and joy because she could not only learn alchemy but also cultivation tricks from him. "I hit a jackpot. I'm really lucky," Olivia said to herself. She was not the only one who felt lucky. Nathan's inner voice reminded him about the competition for the next head of House Bradley. If he could utilize Ghost's friendship correctly, he might get an edge over all his rivals for the head seat. He began to plot his own plans, keeping Ghost in his mind while Michael plotted to use both Olivia and Nathan to expand his influence. Everyone in the room had their own plans. Using each other, they wanted to move forward in their life. Michael would have definitely supported in any way he can to make Nathan the next head of Bradley, because he would rather deal with the devil he knows than an unknown devil. "When can we leave, Nathan?" Michael asked, bringing Nathan back from his trance. Tomorrow morning Nathan was intercepted by a sudden cry that came from Michael's chest. Teacher. Olivia jumped back when she saw something inside Michael's chest trembling violently. Michael's face turned dark, feeling the baby dragon in his pocket twitching frantically. When he put his hand inside to take out the baby dragon, a warm yet cold liquid touched his skin. He gently took out the baby dragon to see it was bleeding. The baby dragon's scales had become gray and he was bleeding through all of his pores on the body. Teacher, is that the dragon? Holy shit, it is, Nathan exclaimed. Baby dragon, what's happening to him? Michaels felt dread in his core, staring at the baby dragon who laid on his hand, eyes closed, body twitching. In a couple of seconds, the remaining crimson scales also turned gray. System. Michael screamed in his head, calling the system for help. The system is in safe mode. Unable to answer host's question while in safe mode. Michael felt his training to keep himself calm despite the situation being tested by the system at this exact moment. He took a few deep breaths after exiting the system. Let me see, Gaia creased her brows, reaching out to feel the baby dragon's body. Olivia and Nathan stood there speaking no words because they knew something bad happening to the baby dragon. Since they did not know a way to help, they kept their mouths shut. It'll give him a healing potion, Michael said, readying himself to use the healing potion on the baby dragon. No, stop it. Gaia stopped him and continued to run her fingers through the blood-covered body of the baby dragon. After a few minutes under the gazes of the three, Gaia sighed. Ghost, he's a death-kissed dragon. What do you mean? He's dying. Michael's heart jumped a beat hearing her. Although he only spent a short amount of time with the baby dragon, he felt deeply connected to the dragon. He could not simply forget the dragon's face or the times he played with him. The baby dragon made him happy, light-hearted. Michael knew the dragon loved him more than he loved himself. Maybe it was because both of them were abandoned as a child, never knowing their parents made their bond stronger. Tell me there's a way to cure him. There's no cure for death kiss, ghost. I thought it was weird that he could not fly or absorb arch-energy like us, Gaia said. Ever since she met this baby dragon, he couldn't fly like any baby dragons of his age. He would always hop like a bunny to move around. She also noticed that the baby dragon would often fall asleep, spending most of the day sleeping. However, she never thought he was death-kissed. It made sense why Ghost never met the mother dragon near the baby dragon. The reason for that was the mother dragon sensed the death kiss on him and threw him away. It was really unfortunate as only one dragon in a million would get death-kissed. Teacher, Olivia called. Her tone was suppressed, fearing any wrong word would make him mad. Michael turned his gaze away from the baby dragon to Olivia while still cradling the unconscious baby dragon in his hand. There might be someone who could help him. Who? Michael asked. Finally a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. In Royal Land, there's someone called the Doctor. I heard he could perform miracles, cure many incurable diseases, yet many would say he's a myth, but if he's not, maybe he could cure him. I heard about him. Nathan nodded after he heard Olivia. I heard about him too, but even if he could cure him, how do we find the doctor? As you just said, he might be a myth. I have to look for him. I will look for him, and if he exists, I will find him. Michael wasn't in the mood for second-guessing. He wanted to save the baby dragon, any means necessary. But until he could find a way to save the baby dragon permanently, he needed to keep him alive. How much time does he have? Michael asked, looking at Gaia, who clearly knew more about dragons than the three of them combined. In his condition, we can keep him barely alive for another 3 weeks tops, Gaia said as she took out a healing potion from her space ring and poured it over the baby dragon. The grayish scales barely showed a glimpse of the crimson red underneath. We need to do this at least 10 times a day. Nathan raised his brows slightly. A single healing potion cost 9,000 gold coins. This meant Ghost would spend 90,000 gold coins on the baby dragon to keep him alive. This amount was for a single day. If Ghost did this for 3 weeks, he would spend almost 2 million, just to keep the baby dragon alive until he could find the doctor, if he exists, that is. Chapter 144. Making the royal land his next destination, Michael left Aragoth before asking Olivia to send a message to the Sunrise sect about his sudden departure. This time Michael didn't mount the Pegasus but used his flying sword to soar through the skies with Gaia. Each and every second mattered to Michael. While on his way to the royal land, he tried to probe the system about a cure for the baby dragon, but the heartless system remained silent, no matter how desperate he was to save his baby dragon. Although the system bailed on him when he needed it the most, he somewhat felt the system had no choice but to ignore him. He missed the snarky comments, the little interactions with this greedy system. He hoped the badass system would return to its normal state soon. Good thing he met Olivia at the time when the baby dragon fell ill, or he would have been clueless about how to save the scaly bastard. Surprisingly, Gaia took turns in cradling and caring for her frenemy. He could tell that she's missing the baby dragon despite the pointless enmity between them. Her motherly instincts kicked in, making her worry about the baby dragon. Even after houses of non-stop flying, she only spoke a couple of times with him. The rest of the time, she cleaned the blood off the dragon and gently poured healing potion into its mouth, as well as applied the potion on its grayish scale. "Well, save you, Dickie, I promise." When Michael was looking at the distant sky, she whispered in the dragon's ear. She then gently kissed him on the head. "Who?" The baby dragon startled her by letting out a wee coo, human look. He stopped flying after the sudden shout came from behind. He turned back to see the baby dragon lying in her hands with slightly opened eyes. Michael came to the baby dragon with a loving smile on his face. "Keep fighting, champ. Well, cure you." He too put a gentle kiss on the dragon's head. The three of them hovered in the sky like a family. She cradled the dragon like he was her baby, while Michael was the big daddy of this small family. He wanted to cherish this relationship with her and the baby dragon. No matter how strong he became, these two would always be his family. If anyone tries to even harm a single hair on their body, he would massacre their entire bloodline. The fire of healing the baby dragon burned brighter and hotter within their hearts as they resumed flying towards the royal land where the emperor resides. Both of them continued to fly, stopping only to replenish the arch energy in their body. Even Michelle wasn't an exception to this. During these small breaks, she did not eat anything, not even a biscuit. This showed how serious she was. At least something good came out of all this, Michael thought, looking at her cradling the baby dragon. After all, there was no real reason for them to fight in the first place. He was a baby while she was a fully grown adult. They didn't have to carry the torch of enmity between the two races. The baby dragon was acting on his instincts. Gaia, on the other hand, just hated Dragon for no good reason, but he could tell that she's changing. At least she would no longer want him dead. Eventually, after traveling for 5 continuous days, they saw the outskirts of a buzzing city surrounded by gigantic walls. Outside the walls, lush green fields, wheat fields that looked like golden blankets, crisscrossing rivers, and small yet charming houses filled the land. What made the kingdom look extremely vibrant and majestic was the ocean behind it. The rising sun painted the blue ocean and the walls with its golden rays, making the city within the walls look like a city made of gold. However, Michael was not in the mood to bask in the beauty. He wanted to get into the city and began searching for this so-called doctor. "Flying is prohibited in this kingdom. We have to walk." Time was in the essence, but they had no choice. They descended to land on a stone-paved road. Lines of fancy carriages with various flags on top of them, groups of people, and merchant carriages moved towards the gigantic main gate made of silvery metal. The two of them barely attracted any attention as many cultivators like them descended when they reached the outskirts to comply with the no-flying rule. Michael hated to wait in the line behind all these carriages, yet he could not do anything. He might be a mighty existence in the river town, but here, he was like a small fish. He realized this factor after noticing numerous core formation cultivators going in and coming out of the city. While moving at a snail's pace, Michael noticed shrieks and cries coming from the merchant carriage in front of him. He looked through the door crack to see green humanoid creatures and vaguely saw a few human faces. "Slave traders." Looking at the curiosity on his face, Gaia whispered. "And those are goblins, nasty creatures," she growled. Since he could do nothing but wait patiently, he decided to ponder more about these slave traders. If he created a list of disgusting things that needed to be gotten rid of, slave traders would definitely hit the top. Tell me about these slave traders. Can we buy elves? Where did you get that idea? His question made her raise brows. No, you can't. Enslaving another race is forbidden by the church and the guardians. Michael was confused. If enslaving was forbidden, what the heck is happening in front of him? Those are crooks and outlaws, human. Those goblins were probably banished from their tribe for their crimes, while those humans may be rapists, murderers, or both. When they commit a crime punishable by death, some kings would give them two choices, death or enslavement. Many would choose the first, but some prefer to live as a slave than die as a free soul. And you, do you have an elf fetish? She pinched him hard on the shoulder. It was not a question but rather a warning. Nope, he shook his head. So does this rule apply to every kingdom in this continent? Michael asked while running the spot she mercilessly pinched him. Pretty much yes. In some kingdoms in Azure continent, however, give slaves the option to become a gladiator in arenas for the pleasure of nobles, gladiators. How could Michael not know who gladiators are? The mere mention of the word gladiators brought back the sweet memories of many TV shows and movies he watched. Each and every gladiator was a badass. Of course, not anyone can become a gladiator. A rich noble should first decide to buy the slaves and train them in their own school of gladiators. Survive long enough in the arena, a gladiator could get the glory, gold, and even freedom, but I never heard of a gladiator who survived the arena to earn freedom from their masters. At this moment, Michael wanted to go to one of the kingdoms that have arenas and gladiators. If he could buy a small army of gladiators somehow, he would become unstoppable in the future. The Dark Lord could definitely use the gladiators to his advantage. State your purpose of visiting the royal land. Eventually Michael was a couple of carriages behind to enter the city within the walls. I'm a humble merchant, Sir Guard, and am here to deliver the goods ordered by His Royal Highness. The second dash, go, the head guard immediately led in the slave trader in front of Michael. The guard did not ask any further questions as he opened the gates while Michael stepped forward to meet the guard. State your purpose of visiting the royal guard. The head guard, who clad in full iron plane armor, asked Michael. This is our vacation period. 50 gold. Gaia was interjected by the guard. She didn't seem upset though, because she knew the guards had no time to listen to all their stories. Nodding her head, she quickly placed a pouch of coins in the guard's hand. Just by weighing the pouch in his hand, the guard guessed the amount inside. The guard behind the head guard gestured at them to enter through the small door beside the main gate. They were just too lazy and sluggish to welcome these travelers with any pleasantries. The inner city of Royal Land was built along the banks of a mighty river and was truly an architectural metropolis. The skyline was littered with impressive towers and majestic buildings made of marble, as well as stones that shone in the daylight, and more seemed to be on their way. Its charm was matched by the backdrop of pristine skies which have helped shape the city into what it is today. The city itself looked simply gorgeous. Many houses had pinewood rooftops, oakwood walls, and luscious gardens. The streets were paved with stones and filled with a buzzing crowd. Since Michael had no idea of where to find the doctor, he decided to find the place that's filled with rumors and actionable intel, an inn. Chapter 145. Placing the unconscious baby dragon inside his coat pocket, Michael walked along the bustling streets while looking for a tavern. Various shops including smithies, bakeries, bookshops and other miscellaneous stores were opening their doors to start the business. If this was any other day, he would have entered one or two stores to check what they were selling, but today, his sole focus was to gather any information he could about the doctor and save the baby dragon. Look, over there. While he was navigating through the labyrinth of streets, Gaia pointed at a name board that had the name Old Ship Tavern written on it. From the outside, the tavern looked cheerful, clean, and modest. Small stones and intricate stone carvings made up most of the building's outer structure. It was near impossible to see through the stained glass windows, but the entertainment from within can be felt outside. As they entered the tavern through the heavily used, metal door, they were welcomed by excitement and clapping hands. The bartender was a red-haired middle-aged woman who was clearly buried in orders but still managed to welcome them with a wave. It was as enchanting inside as it was on the outside. Squared, stone beams supported the upper floor and the large candles attached to them. The walls were littered with so many different memorabilia. The tavern itself was packed. Travelers like them seemed to be the primary clientele here, which was often a good sign. Several long tables were occupied by what must be separate groups who have bonded over great food and conversation. The other, smaller tables were also occupied by people who were probably starting to reach the point of having drunk too much, though nobody seemed to mind. Even most of the stools at the bar were occupied, though none of them looked to be minding more company. The air inside the tavern was filled with freshly baked bread, boots, and ale. On the other side of the large tables, people, mostly drunks, were dancing and singing along with the band of bards. Michael and Gaia managed to find stools before the bartender. "What can I get you two?" The bartender woman finished serving the others and came to Michael. Information. Michael slid a gold coin toward the woman. He did not waste any time exchanging pleasantries given the dire situation. "And water with lime, if you have any," Gaia ordered. Since Michael didn't drink any liquors, she also stopped drinking them, and instead, she got used to just hot water with lime, just like him. Putting the gold coin into her pouch hanging on her hip, she grinned brightly. "What do you want to know, young master?" She changed the way she addressed him because of the gold coin. Obviously, a commoner or a typical adventurer wouldn't just give a gold coin just like that. "Tell me everything you know about the doctor." "Another one," the man behind Michael snickered, taking a long sip from his mug. "Ignore that one, young master." The bartender glared at the man, wordlessly telling him to mind his own business. "Well, young master, no one know much about the doctor, but I'll tell you what I heard about the doctor. It might be just a hogwash or God's honest words. Even if they were just hogwash, Michael had no choice but to listen to them. At the moment, Michael and Gaia were waiting in a dark alley between two large buildings. Back at the inn, the bartender told them everything she knew and heard about the doctor. Most of what she told them seemed outright exaggeration or simply lies spewed by some drunkards, because who would believe an angel with pure white wings came from the sky and healed a drunk in the alleyway? In one story the bartender told them, the doctor brought a dead man back from death. Although Michael was desperate, even he couldn't believe that one could bring the dead back to life unless that person has a system that's fully upgraded, which was impossible. However, the conversation with the bartender was not all waste, as Michael got the names of everyone who's claiming that they were healed by the doctor. For another extra 5 gold coins, the bartender gave the names and where to find most of them. Creak. While they were waiting in the dark alley, a back door of the building left to Michael opened, vaguely revealing a figure of an old man. Gaia stepped towards the old man with no expression on her face. Despite the darkness in the alleyway and the old man's age, he grinned instantly, looking at the young girl walking towards him. "Are you lost, little girl?" Boom! In a flash, Gaia's hand grabbed the old man by his neck, slamming the old man against the wall. "Answer my questions or..." She placed a dagger on the old man's wrinkly throat. Any thing. The old man got his hangover cured just like that. "What do you know about the doctor?" asked Gaia. The old man shuddered to look at the vertical slit pupils which resembled the eyes of a venomous snake glowing in the dark. "Where and when did you meet him?" Michael asked the old man with a soothing voice to calm the old man down a bit. Near the orphanage. I saw someone healing an orphan." In the story the bartender told them, it was this old man who got healed by the doctor, not an orphan. "Tell me what he looked like." Gaia still had her dagger touching the old man's throat while asking. "I didn't see his face." She instantly saw the old man withholding something by sensing the slight change in his voice. She had dealt with politicians and powerful cultivators ever since she was born, so she could find out when a commoner like the old man was lying to her face. "You don't want to hold back anything, trust me," she said. This time her voice was colder. "Heard music." "What kind of music?" asked Gaia. Like. Ding! Michael didn't know whether to laugh or slap this old man for his music knowledge. "Knock him out and through him the dumpster, Chodak." The old man's world completely became dark before he could even raise a finger. Just as he told her, she knocked the old man and threw him into the nearby dumpster. Next one, after many days, only now his lips slightly curved upwards because finally, he might have gotten an actual lead to finding the doctor. I heard a sound, music, heavenly music, soul-soothing tune. I've never heard of something more beautiful. After the old man, both of them continued to interrogate the people who claimed to have been healed by the doctor. They used violence for some and gold coins for some, but the end result was the same. Everyone had heard some kind of music coming from the doctor. Afterward, Michael brought all of them to a place where the nobles of the royal land gathered to listen to music. It cost him 2,000 gold coins just to enter and stay for an hour. The garden he was walking through was filled with colorful flowers, exquisite fountains, delicately crafted benches for the nobles to sit, and the beautiful status of various musical instruments such as violin, zither, veena, etc. The deeper he walked into the garden, the louder the music became. Michael could understand why the nobles spent so many coins here, as even he felt refreshed by hearing the soul-soothing music in the air. But he was here neither to enjoy the scenery nor listen to this soul-soothing music. He was here to find out what kind of music these people behind him heard. By identifying the musical instrument the doctor used, he would be one step closer to finding him. Of course, there was a possibility that the doctor didn't use any kind of musical instruments and they all just heard some kind of magical vibrations, but Michael wanted to stay positive, for the sake of his baby dragon. Just as he was crossing by a statue of the musical instrument veena, the sweet melody of a veena being played could be heard in a nearby pavilion. Almost as if the music had an enchanting ability, the moment anyone heard this melody would feel as if their heartstrings were resonating along with the veena. That's it, it's the same. Few of the people behind Michael, including the old man who got knocked off by Gaia, shouted. Some seemed relieved as they could finally be free from these two youngsters. The moment Michael and Gaia heard the sound of the veena and the people behind them, they stopped walking and turned to look toward the source. They could only see a woman wearing a red-colored glistening robe with her back facing them in the pavilion. Her jade-white fingers could be seen dancing along the strings of the veena as the sweet melodies rang throughout the area. Few nobles sat on the bench near her, eyes closed, submerged in the ocean of music. Walking toward the pavilion, Michael quickly approached the back of the red-robed woman. Her black hair hung behind her shoulders down to her back. A white veil covered her face so that he couldn't see her appearance. The part of the girl's face that could be seen could only be described as a stunning beauty. In a flash, she finished playing the ballad and turned to look at him. "Does my lord enjoy the sound of the veena as well?" The girl spoke with a sweet, gentle voice, almost too gentle, as if one wasn't strong enough, then they would be enchanted after hearing her voice. With a light smile, he replied, "The second sister's ability with the veena is quite amazing. Although I would love to sit and listen to you playing, I have a life to save, so can you please answer my question?" The girl first seemed puzzled by Michael's words, but soon, she smiled sweetly, speaking with a gentle voice. "I thank the Lord for his praise, and please, ask away, anything to save a life." He continued to smile at her, then pointing his fingers at the people behind him, he asked while carefully noticing her facial expressions, "Miss, have you met any of them before? They say they heard a piece of music that soothed their soul and surprisingly, healed their wounds." The girl looked all of them who were in ragged clothes one more time before shaking her head. "No, Lord, I have never met them, but what they told you is true. A piece of music that can heal. Only one who achieved the realm of perfection in veena could do that." As far as Michael and Gaia could tell, the girl was not lying. The girl continued, "I am quite fond of the 4 arts and studied them studiously when I was young, but I am still far from the realm of perfection. While the sounds of my veena are quite soothing, it was mostly because of the veena itself." The girl's delicate finger stroked a string on the veena as she muttered, "Although this veena is a copy of the angel's veena, it uses a variety of rare parts, including the soul energy of the one who wields the angel's veena, Layla Alden. If one could have done what you said, it would be her, but I doubt she left the Rainbow Islands and came here to heal them." Her last words contained a hint of scowl as she had already whiffed a smell of ale coming from some of them in the group. She put it mildly to sound respectful, but she seriously doubted that Layla Alden, the wielder of Angel's Vina, gave the blessing of hearing the sound of Angel's Vina to these drunkards who weren't even worthy of breathing the same air as Layla Alden does. Angel's Vina. Layla Alden. Michael asked with confusion while Gaia seemed like she knew the person the girl was talking about. Chapter 146, If I want to meet this Layla Alden, where do I go, miss? The girl shook her head. No one can meet Lady Alden whenever they wish, Lord, even the Emperor himself yearning to get that heavenly blessing. Well, see about that. Gaia didn't like all these exaggerations about Layla. For Gaia, this Layla woman was just another overrated cultivator in the Elon continent. Thank you for everything, miss, Michael said, nodding before leaving the garden with Gaia. They chased away the group of people as Michael saw no use in keeping them around. We are going to Rainbow Islands. She was determined to save the baby dragon. Nothing would stop them from doing so. Where is it? In the endless ocean. We have to find a portal. Although it won't let us travel into the Rainbow Islands domain, we can reach the border. Flying would take at least 4 weeks. We don't have that time, she explained, recalling everything she knew about Royal Land to find a portal. The devil has struck again. The devil has struck again. The devil has struck again. Just as they were in deep thinking, their train of thoughts was stopped by a panicked voice. They turned their head towards the voice's direction to see a young man who looked pale, screaming as loud as he could, "Run away, the devil has struck again." The young man kept screaming while the people who were strolling on the streets quickly covered in fear. Hide, hide inside your homes, Lucifer has struck again. Michael's body went rigid after hearing the young man screaming the name Lucifer. Both of them creased their brows, looking at each other confused. What's going on here? Michael asked as he walked in the direction of the young man. The previously crowded alleyway now became grim. When he was just about to grab the young man in question, he saw a group of soldiers rushing towards something. Michael and Gaia ignored the screaming young man and followed the soldiers to get some answers. Getting out of the alleyway, they stepped into the main street, which was paved with grayish stones. While many people ran in the opposite direction of the soldiers, Michael followed the soldiers behind with a few other daredevils. The more they followed the soldiers, the more chaos and soldiers they witnessed in the streets of Royal Land. Soon, they reached the town square. In the middle of the square, a group of soldiers clad in full iron plate armor formed a line, preventing the citizens from seeing the horror behind them. The smell of fresh blood permeated the square. Through the gaps in the crowd before him, he noticed the fountain in the square was painted splashes of red. What's happening? Michael asked an old woman in front of him to know more about what's going on here. It's the devil, young man. It has killed yet again. The old woman was too focused on craning her neck to see through the crowd as she didn't even look at Michael while speaking. Yet again? Yeah, this is the devil's 4th victim. I don't know who the troubled soul he took this time. The old woman held on to the pendant on her chest. He knew she's praying to the sun god. Look above, the holy guards are here. Hearing the sudden rise in the commission, Michael looked at the sky above the town square to see a group of 6 figures descended. All of them were covered in pure white shining armor with golden edges. Each of them had a different weapon such as sword, spear, bow, staff, and even a huge battle axe. Their armors had a symbol of the sun painted on their chest plate, indicating their branch in the church. However, it wasn't their shiny armor or flashy weapons that made Michael arch his brows, it was their cultivation level. The leading figure, who had a sword on the side, was a core strengthening level 1 warrior. The rest of them were level 10 core formation warriors. This group alone showed Michael the power of the church. Get them all out of here, a female voice came from the core strengthening warrior. The guards immediately tensed up, pushing the crowd further and further away from the crime scene. You can't hide the truth from us forever. We need to know what's going on. Are our children safe? When are you going to catch that bastard? Who is the victim? We demand answers. The people weren't a pushover, they resisted the soldiers, shouting at the holy guards and the soldiers. The crowd became restless. While they were protesting and trying to turn this into a riot, Michael glared at Gaia. wordlessly telling her to come with him. Someone is copycatting us. When they put enough distance from the holy guards, Gaius said before forming an invisible barrier around them to prevent anyone from eavesdropping on them. I expected this, but not this soon, not here. Michael's voice was calm yet deep down, his voice had a hint of murderous intent to it. You need to stay here and clean up this mess before that copycat ruins our plans. What? She growled, showing her disagreement. She wanted to save the baby dragon more than anything. Although at first, she hated the baby dragon, when she thought about everything, she realized that the baby dragon was like a family to Ghost, which made the baby dragon a family to her. After reaching immortality, she would have to spend eternity with Ghost and the baby dragon. When the whole world turns against them, they have to have each other's back. Compared to that, the hostility between the Nagas and dragons seemed so puny and negligible to her. Besides, deep down, she knew the baby dragon would do the same to her if she was in his state. Remember, Gaia, I didn't create Lucifer to only spread fear, I created him to be the devil who punishes evil. Only then people would believe that anyone Lucifer kills is an evil person. If we let this copycat run around killing innocents, it would ruin our entire plan. Michael knew she wanted to be there when he cures the baby dragon. He too wanted to have her beside him, but this copycat changed everything. She clenched her fist. Fuck it, I'll stay here. She could understand that what Michael had said was true, and she knew that he needs her here. Besides, you're a lot stronger than me now. In case there's a fight with the Holy Guards, you would be able to at the very least escape. Yes, system, can you at least give me a teleportation scroll that would get me to Rainbow Islands or closer to them? He had no reply from the system. He was just about to close the interface when he heard the familiar voice again. 4,000 badass points. Take it. He could swear that he sensed the excitement in the system's voice, which went back to the old robotic voice before he upgraded it to level 3. For now, he knew he won't get any answers from the system, so he just retrieved the teleportation scroll he just bought from the system. We need to find a portal, Gaius said when he exited the system. No need, since Michael couldn't reveal the fact that he just bought the scroll from the system, he pretended to draw symbols on the scroll. With the help of the system, the ordinary-looking scroll in his hand slowly began to glow as he was drawing symbols on them. What are you doing? Creating a teleportation scroll. I can't create them often as it would take a toll on my mental health, but I had to use this skill this time. She would have stopped him if she had a better way, but time was on the essence and this seemed to be the only way to save the traveling time. Keeping the scroll in his hand, Michael moved further into the dark alley. Happy hunting, he said before tearing the scroll. A golden light instantly wrapped around his body. If you can't save Dickie, don't come back, she said, looking at the faint smile on his face before the golden light disappeared from her sight along with him. Return to me safely, human. I have a confession to make. As she said, she retrieved the love potion she took from the batch he brewed. She looked at the 2 potions one last time before crushing them to oblivion. During their trip to Royal Land, she felt her feelings for him had indeed grown stronger. Initially, she wanted to test herself using the love potion, but now, she decided to confess to him because she couldn't imagine a life with someone else. Gaia was positive that he feels the same way about her, only, he didn't seem to make the first move, so she took the matter into her own hands. The moment he comes back, she would drag him somewhere alone and confess her feelings. For now, I need to find that copycatting fuck and flay him alive. She put her hood on before leaving the dark alley with a resolute to kill the fake Lucifer. Chapter 147. In the sky above the endless oceans, a human-sized golden orb appeared. It hovered in the sky for a few seconds before exploding into millions of tiny light particles, revealing a youngster in full black armor, Ghost. He stared around, locking his eyes with an island in the distance. Other than the tiny island on the horizon, one could see nothing but an endless ocean, hence the name Endless Ocean. Lightning Dash, he utilized the spell to traverse the sky over the oceans. He had already become a bolt of lightning, soaring across the sky. Don't worry, baby dragon, I'll save you. As he flew, he murmured, patting his chest where the baby dragon was resting. Michael traveled over the endless ocean for another couple of hours before finally reaching the island. The tall mountain peak which seemed like touching the sky itself stood majestically. The island was surrounded by wildlife and numerous waterfalls. What was unique about this island was its color. When looked at from the sky, one could see all the 7 colors in the rainbow on the island. This was the first time he saw bright blue trees. Also, the island was very large, almost half the size of the kingdom Breedia. However, there were not many people who lived on it, only a measly few 100,000 people, and a large portion of it was undeveloped wilderness. A huge, 100-meter-tall stone tablet was inserted into the ground at the harbor, and on it were 2 large, finely engraved words, Rainbow Island. Michael descended into a dense forest on the island before walking towards the small port town not too far away. It was the only town on the island, and the entire population of the island lived there. I never thought there would be a population living here, Michael thought. From what he heard from Gaia, most of the powerful cultivators liked to live in secluded islands before leaving to the cold mountains where they would cultivate until either reaching the higher stages of cultivation or simply die of old age. At this very moment, the sound of horses galloping could be heard vaguely in the distance. Numerous men on extremely simple horses slowly galloped over. They wore simple clothes, dust and splashes of sand could be seen on their clothes. They all had a smile on their faces, a smile that would only come when they achieved peace with themselves. Kimu, this time, we must stay in the sea for at least a month. This time I want to double our usual catch, the beefy, middle-aged man riding at the front laughed aloud. Damn right, bro. Last time we came back from the sea too soon. If I could only catch a rare fish, it'll increase the size of my family, you know what I mean, hee. A young man in his late 20s grinned devilishly from beside the middle-aged man. His face shone bright thinking about a great time with his wife. The men spoke as they rode their horses before quickly coming across Michael. His strange armor immediately drew the attention of the men, each observing the black-robed youngster in wonder. The group of people stopped 10 meters before him. The leader, the beefy middle-aged man, spoke to him. Michael slowed his pace when he heard the horse galloping to get the directions to Layla's residence, as there was no big mansion in his eyesight while he was on the air. You aren't a Rainbow Islander, are you? Where did you come from? Michael glanced over the men. Other than the leading middle-aged man, who was at the body refining stage level 8, the others were only at level 5 or level 4. Michael waved with a smile on his face. You are correct, brother. I'm not from Rainbow Island, I came to the island from a small kingdom in Elon continent. The man did not notice that Michael studied them to see their cultivation level. He said boldly, Elon continent, huh? You're a long way from home. Oh, where are my manners? Name is Keenan, but you can call me whatever you want. If I remember correctly, the last time an outsider came to our island seemed to be 12 years ago. How do you want us to call you? Is outside okay with you? Kenna asked, laughing. I am Jake. I came to this island looking for Miss Layla Alden. He said politely. He did not look down on these people because of their cultivation level. Who knows what their relationship with the doctor? Lady Alden, the man quickly corrected Michael with a smile, and Michael could see their admiration and devotion these men have towards this Layla Alden. If he tried to disrespect Layla, he was sure that these men would fight for her honor with their pikes and fishnets. Jake, you must have won some kind of competition and earned the chance to see Lady Alden. Keenan completely misunderstood the situation, but from his words, Michael realized that competitions are going on with the price of meeting this Layla Alden. His curiosity about this woman piqued. As Keenan spoke, he pointed at the tall mountain in the distance. Do you see that huge mountain? That's the holy grounds of the island, called Angel Peak. That's where the Lady Alden and her disciples live. Michael looked towards the mountain and then gave a salute with 2 fingers. Thank you, brother, for your help. I must see Lady Alden as soon as possible, so forgive me for bidding farewell. With that, Michael lightning dashed towards the mountain before Keenan could say a word. Very soon, he arrived at the mountain peak. He did not hide his presence so he wouldn't look like an intruder trying to sneak into their home. Besides, Michael could already sense 2 powerful presents coming at him. State your name and your purpose of being here at our Angel Peak. A gentle, pleasant voice originated from the sky above the mountain. With 2 flashes of white light, 2 young, violet-dressed women appeared, both carrying Venus. The 2 females only seemed to be 20 years old. Their appearances were fair and alluring, rare beauties in the world. They were pretty enough to rival Claire, Selena, Peyton, and so on. After spending more than half a year in this world, he adjusted his mind to meet angelic beauties, so their beauty didn't surprise him much. However, what surprised him was that the 2 girls before him carried a celestial aura, like fairies. They clearly had something that those beauties he met previously never had. Even Gaia, level 10 core strengthening stage, the 2 girls before him were actually powerful level 10 core strengthening stage warriors. He quickly hid his shock, then he spoke calmly. I am called Ghost. Michael's instincts told him to go with the name Ghost instead of the name he gave to Keenan. Something about these girls made him believe that they could sense a lie. I need Lady Alden's help to save. The mistress of the island is currently in seclusion. She cannot help you now. Please come back another day. Although the woman sounded soft and respectful, Michael could sense a contempt in her voice, deep within. Michael did not show any of his inner emotions on his face. After all, it was him who needed Layla's help, not the other way around. After a slight hesitation, he asked, then when will Lady Alden come out of seclusion? That's up to the mistress to decide. It may be a few days, a few months, a few years, or even a few decades. The woman continued testing Michael's patience. If he was stronger than them, he would have wiped that smug off her pretty face with a single slap, but for now, he could only suppress his irritation. Arg! Suddenly, a howl filled with utmost pain reverberated from a cave on the mountain peak. With it followed various rumbles as countless rocks were sent flying from the cave. At the same time, the invisible arch-energy in the surroundings slowly gathered towards the hole, while an extremely profound presence descended from the void. Michael felt an immense pressure building up around him, making him almost kneel to the ground. It was like an invisible mountain was dropped on him. Even though he had never witnessed a sight like this before, he learned about this happening, thanks to Abra's memories. Someone is breaking through to the soul refining stage. A sliver of shock had appeared in his eyes. Unexpectedly, the expressions of the 2 women changed. They immediately cried out, "Oh gods, he's woken again. Quickly, use the sound of the Vina to suppress his awakenings and put him to sleep again. We can't let him refine his soul, it'd be the end of him." The 2 women no longer paid any attention to Michael. They directly sat down in the air and placed the Vina they carried on their laps. Then they quickly but dexterously strummed the Vina's strings, creating a faint, divine melody. The pressure around Michael slowly decreased as he exhaled deeply. The melodious sound coming from the Vina's echoed through the air, covering the entire Angel Peak mountain. It seemed to hum with space, causing slight distortions in the surrounding space. Everything around them, the trees, the wildlife, even the small particles of mud seemed to be affected by this enchanting sound. He couldn't help but feel relaxed, refreshed as he had just come out of a world-class massage. Who are these people? Chapter 148, What a powerful music. He was secretly surprised. This music, played by the 2 women, was not even targeted at him, yet he could feel the overwhelming radiation of power in the air around him. If it was targeted at him with the purpose of hurting him, he would have literally blown away from the mountain, he was sure of it. Junior sister, make him fall asleep with the Mayan sleeping tune. It'll try to keep his soul from getting refined, one of them said grimly. Although she seemed to be a powerful cultivator, it was extremely difficult to prevent someone's soul from getting refined and reaching the soul refining stage. Yes, senior. It'll come help you as soon as I put him to sleep, the other woman spoke sternly before abruptly changing the way she played the Vina. The music produced became much softer, and it contained a soul-soothing charm. The melodious tune could pierce through all barriers to affect the spirits of people, causing them to feel relaxed and sleepy. The other woman's music also changed. Her tender fingers had already turned into blurs as they danced about on top of the Venus strings, causing a lethal melody to fill all the surroundings. It caused the air around them to surge like a storm where the surroundings reacted to it. Under the effect of this lethal melody, all the particles in the world and arch-energy around the island were affected. All kinds of energy gathered from every direction under the melody's control before merging up to form a great, tightly knit but invisible net, layering together to seal up the entire mountain and, as a result, obstruct the arch-energy to be used in soul refining. In addition, silvery notes shot out from the Vina one by one. They quickly flew towards the arch-energy with a destructive aura radiating in an attempt to interfere with the arch-energy. Michael had long sensed that the arch-energy they were blocking was extremely powerful. It was far superior to the arch-energy he had seen and used. This superior arch-energy was called celestial energy. Anyone above the core strengthening stage could use a small portion of celestial energy in the world. The higher they climb up the cultivation stages after the soul refining stage, the more one could utilize the celestial energy in the world to cast a spell or increase their strength. The celestial energy slowly descended from the sky with an intense aura. As the destructive notes clashed with the celestial energy, it would ripple slightly, but it did not disperse and soon collided with the huge net. The net could only slow down its descent, but it could not stop it. The celestial energy slowly sank into the net, descending towards the cave. The woman who blocked the celestial energy looked grimmer than before. The melody played by her abruptly changed, and the destructive feeling suddenly disappeared, replaced by a muffled tune. This time the woman played the strings of her vina at a much slower speed, but with every string she struck, a muffled sound would reverberate in the sky. It contained great power as if it was capable of directly crushing the hearts of people. The surroundings were also greatly affected, and the entire region of space distorted greatly. As for where the celestial energy descended, space was directly annihilated, creating a black hole with a diameter of 5 meters in an attempt to engulf the celestial energy. Holy shit, Michael felt a cold chill crawling through his spine when he saw the black hole in the sky swallowing the arch-energy in the surroundings. He did not dare to break the two girls' concentration by opening his mouth. He just held onto a mountain wall, trying not to fly into the black hole. The celestial energy descended from the sky after passing through the various obstructions. Even though there was the huge invisible net created by these two girls, it continued forwards with an extremely steady pace. No matter what stood in its path, nothing could stop celestial energy from advancing. It directly ignored the black hole formed from the destroyed space and passed through it, continuing onwards. The celestial energy this time is much more powerful than last time. Junior, quickly make him fall back asleep, I can't keep this much longer. The woman responsible for blocking the celestial energy's descent seemed desperate and, shortly afterward, the melodies rang out hurriedly once again. The visible waves of sound shot out with great lethality, flying towards the celestial energy. But even with all of this, it was unable to stop the descent of the celestial energy. Currently, the celestial energy that slowly descended from the sky was less than 1,000 meters from Angel Peak Mountain. Arg! A shrill cry filled with utmost pain rang out. Shortly afterward, the cave in the distance rumbled loudly a few times, causing the entire mountain to shake slightly. Gods! His mind and soul are resisting the tunes. I'm failing to make him fall asleep. The other woman's expression changed greatly, shouting at her junior. Hearing that, the face of the woman who was responsible for obstructing the celestial energy darkened. Drops of cold sweat could be seen on her pretty face. After a few moments of silence, she spoke out, "There's not much time left. If he doesn't fall asleep, he'll die for sure when the celestial energy reaches his soul. Use the soul-controlling melody." With that, the woman turned around to Michael. She requested, "Ghost, please help us fight the celestial energy from descending. Just what's happening?" Michael asked, bewildered. How could he, a mere body-strengthening cultivator, fight the Celestine energy? At least if he had the system online, he would have felt somewhat confident in fighting the celestial energy, but the system wasn't online, hence he was reluctant. There's no time to explain it right now. We just can't let the celestial energy descend on him, or he'll die, the woman replied with a rushed, deep voice, while she continued playing the veena. Visible powerful sound waves shot towards the celestial energy, slowing its descent. After a slight deliberation, Michael did not choose to stay idle, not because of the goodness of his heart but to help himself by helping these girls. If he refused to help them, they would definitely chase him away, no questions about that. He simply couldn't leave the mountain without meeting Layla, who was the only hope he had to save the baby dragon. What can I do? He asked, preparing to help these girls. Attack the celestial energy. Just like any other energy in this world, celestial energy had no physical manifestation. He could only sense the high concentration of the energy above him, clashing with the barrier created by the girls. Michael cracked his neck before stepping on his flying sword to fight the celestial energy. He did not, however, use the lightning dash to fly towards it headstrong in case the celestial energy was too intense for him to even get close. Energy Devourer activating. System is in safe mode. Energy devouring failed. Damn it. His face was lit by the first notification, but soon, the light was put down by later notifications. He let out his frustrations by punching the center point of the celestial energy concentration. Except when his fist collided with the celestial energy, it actually just passed through. Unlike the normal arch energy, the celestial energy was not tangible as his punch did not affect it at all. The light in Michael's eyes flickered. With a thought, he conjured the arch energy in his body to surround the space before him, freezing the particles in the air in an attempt to slow down the celestial energies descending. However, what surprised Michael was that celestial energy completely ignored the frozen space. It moved about freely, just as before, and slowly descended. Fuck it. Wind blast. Since he found no way of stopping the celestial energy, he frantically shot out blasts of wind at the energy. Surprisingly, the wind blast proved more useful than his punches or freezing the air around him. Each blast distributed the trajectory of the celestial energy, slightly, very slightly slowing the energy. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. Michael quickly turned his gaze at the two women to see a slight shock in their eyes. It was hardly worth mentioning, but it was there, a mix of shock and surprise. The 5,000 badass points motivated him to fire numerous wind blasts at the celestial energy without worrying about the arch energy limit in his body. He always knew the wind blast can't be a useless spell, and now he was proven right. However, this did not last for very long. Although Michael's wind blasts proved to be useful against the celestial energy, it was not near powerful enough to compete with the celestial energy, and since Michael was only a body-strengthening cultivator and the spell was at level 2, the celestial energy continued to descend, pushing Michael further and further down. Watching as the celestial energy grew closer and closer to the cave, Michael also became uneasy. He was currently pondering over whether he should keep fighting a battle that he cannot win. Just as he was thinking, an elegant but powerful Veena melody slowly appeared in the sky. It seemed to be divine, and with its appearance the entire space became blurry. Clear ripples had appeared. At this moment, the entire region of space seemed to become a huge Veena, while the ripples of space that constantly appeared were the strumming of strings. As the strings formed from the space were constantly hit, bending the laws of this world and causing the space around Angel Peak Mountain to become its own world, a different domain. And in this domain, the descending celestial energy was forcefully halted, as if they were locked up mid-air by mysterious energy and unable to move at all. When the two women heard the Veena, they immediately rejoiced. They heaved a sigh of relief as their faces brightened. They both stopped playing and called out, "Mistress, you've finally come out of seclusion." Arg! A shrill cry rang out from the cave again. It was filled with pain as if it was enduring unbearable torture. And you're still not sleeping. A gentle voice originated from the space, and it seemed to be filled with an utmost charm. With just a single sentence, it seemed to be able to make everything in the world fall asleep. With that, the cries from the cave finally stopped, and shortly afterward there was the sound of something heavy falling onto the ground, followed by nothing but silence. The words did not only affect the person gone mad in the cave. Even Michael was greatly affected. He immediately felt refreshed and calmed. His eyelids felt heavy, and they became drowsy. However, he returned to his senses very quickly. The charm of the sound could no longer be described as terrifying. If he was in a battle and they suddenly became distracted, as a world's best assassin, he knew a second of distraction would cost his life. "This is terrifying," Michael mumbled. He couldn't help but feel a small sprout of fear growing inside him. Chapter 149. The almost divine Vina music continued to linger in the air. The music was gentle. It seemed like the music was using a special method to control the world itself, forcefully manipulating the space. Michael looked upwards at the blue sky, eyes filled with a mix of shock and surprise. As a cultivator, he could feel the changes in the world around him. The laws of the world were changed by the sound of a vina. Considering Obras did not live long enough to learn about the laws of the world and cultivators who could manipulate them, Michael had little to no knowledge about the world's laws. He could only sense the changes but couldn't understand them completely. The mysterious person who played the vina already had a terrifying level of understanding for the vina as well as the laws of the world. The descending celestial energy was forcefully trapped by the music. They paused for a while before slowly rising up the sky, being forcefully sent out of the region, eventually disappearing from the Angel Peak mountain. In the blink of an eye, the celestial energy that two core strengthening level 10 cultivators struggled to deal with, were nullified by a mysterious, hidden person in a couple of seconds. Soon, a dark blue-robed woman walked over slowly and gently from the distance. She was tall and her raven black, glossy hair fluttered in the wind. Her face was obscured by a dark yet slightly transparent veil, revealing her clear eyes. Her eyes were bright and as pretty as lotus petals. Her lean slender fingers caressed the vina strings. She had the perfect hourglass structure that many women could only dream of. Gracefully she descended from the sky like an angel. She was clearly vastly different from ordinary girls. Although her appearance was hidden, it was not difficult to imagine how beautiful she was. In Michael's heart, Gaia was the prettiest girl he has ever met, but this woman dethroned even her. She was that beautiful. He could not help but take a step backward. This was not only because the woman's strength was terrifying, but also the skill she used to defeat the celestial energy itself. She used the vina to control everything in the surroundings and injure enemies. Her ability with the vina had already reached a shockingly scary level. "I greet mistress." The two women courteously greeted the blue-dressed lady with their vinas in their arms. Not only was she the mistress of Angel Peak Mountain Island, but she was also the master of the two of them. His eyes narrowed abruptly, and he called out huskily, "Wielder of Angel's Vina, Lady Layla Alden." Michael slightly bowed to show his respect. He didn't dare to show any discourtesy as the woman was the strongest person he met ever since he came to this world, a freakin' fusion stage cultivator. The power she radiated was so great that he was only able to sense her stage, not the level. Layla Alden stood in the air with her vina while a colorful light flickered in her captivating eyes. She shifted her gaze slightly and looked towards Michael in the distance. Instantly, a sliver of surprise flashed across her calm eyes. A 5-star alchemist, I don't think we've met before," she said softly before silently mumbling under her breath, "It can't be a coincidence." Layla Alden's voice was extremely gentle, like the most pleasant tune in the world, yet also carried a bewitching charm. She was able to affect the moods of people from just her voice. Michael's mood was also wavered slightly by Layla Alden's bewitching voice and what. However, with his willpower, he tried to avoid being bewitched using all of his willpower. He did not think she intended to bewitch him, but the power gap between the two of them was so great that Michael felt like this. How did she find out? Michael's heart skipped a beat when she identified his specialization of alchemy with a single glance. I'm called Ghost, Lady Alden, and I never got the honor of meeting you before. He had never been so respectful and courteous towards anyone until now. After all, he stood top of the world of assassins back on Earth. After coming to this world, with the system's help, he climbed the ladder fastly as he never needed to be afraid of anyone. Even when he faced Julius of Phoenix Island, he did not feel a sliver of fear because he had the system and the teleportation scroll with him to escape, but now, he had neither. Therefore, he decided to be rather respectful towards this Lady Alden, just like everyone else, than getting kicked off the island or worse, killed by her. Layla Alden stared at Michael unblinkingly with her pretty eyes for a while, before speaking gently. If I'm right, you're a disciple of a sect called Sunrise. You are right, Lady Alden. I'm indeed a core disciple of the Sunrise sect. Again Michael was surprised at the fact she actually knew about a declined sect in a backwater kingdom. How did she know? The question poked Michael's mind. Layla Alden gave a short nod before turning her gaze towards her students. Johanna, Nerida, go have a look at his situation. Yes, mistress. The two women replied courteously before flying towards the cave together and disappearing into it. Michael's eyes followed the two disciples as they moved, watching them disappear into the dark cave in the distance. He could not help but become curious, so he asked, Lady Alden, just who is the person living in that cave? What just happened? Layla Alden gazed towards the cave in the distance, and only after a few long moments, she started speaking slowly. He was cursed by one of the 8 great clans. An extremely powerful and complicated curse was placed in his soul, sealing his talent and preventing him from reaching the soul-refining stage. If the Celestine energy reaches his body, it would activate the curse in his mind, turning it into a battlefield. The curse would use the celestial energy and wipe out his soul from existence forever. Not even a 6-star healer can revive him after that. 8 great clans. Michael repeated softly, his voice filled with a sliver of confusion. Looking at the bewildered expression on his face, she spoke gently, given the current situation, you should know about this. The 8 great clans are the most powerful organizations on the 4 continents. Most of them have existed for an extremely long time, having already existed even before the Guardian Guild had appeared in ancient times. Of the 8 clans, other than the Guardian Guild, humans have 2 more. Among the 5, elves, dwarves, beastmen have 1 great clan each, while the seal folks have 2. Michael was stunned. He tried to look not too shocked. Until now, he thought defeating the Guardians Guild would make his path to become this world's ruler easier, but now, he realized that controlling the world will be harder than he imagined. Since he never left the Elon continent and Gaia had little knowledge about the other continents, it was natural for him to be clueless about the other great clans in this world. Layla Alden continued, if it was any other elves, lifting the curse would have been easier, but the one who put the curse on him was an elven great mage of the elven great clan, the Archangels. You may have heard of this poor soul from your elders or your sect leader, huh? As soon as he heard that, Michael was surprised. His expression changed several times before asking out, Lady Alden, who is this person? His name is Christopher Marigold, your sect leader's grandfather. It seems the gods have sent you to help me save him, Layla Alden replied softly. He was completely stunned after hearing her words. Wasn't Claire's grandfather supposed to be dead? Michael asked himself. Claire herself told him her grandfather died during one of his adventures, and it was her father who went missing, which led to the downfall of the Sunrise sect. He always wondered how one man's disappearance could affect an entire sect, leading to such a poor state, but now, everything slowly started to make sense. If someone from a great clan like Guardian Guild put a complicated curse on Claire's grandfather, it would make sense for the great mage to hold a grudge and destroy everything the man built. Christopher Marigold. How can I help him? What is she talking about? Her lips slightly curved upwards, revealing an alluring smile. You came here looking for me to save that death-kissed dragon, right? She pointed at her fingers, and the very next moment, he felt something pulling out the baby dragon from him. The baby dragon hovered in the air without moving. His crimson-red scale had completely turned gray except for a few scales thanks to the healing potions. "Follow me," Layla Alden spoke softly, carrying a bewitching charm with her words. She then started to slowly descend and fly towards the cave before disappearing into the cave. Michael did not hesitate at all as he entered the cave in a flash. The cave was filled with fist-sized luminous pearls which gave off a soft light, illuminating the entire cave. When Michael had traveled 100 meters in, the space before him suddenly opened. He had arrived at a huge cavern of several dozen meters in radius. Currently, the walls were covered with cracks while some loose pebbles lay scattered across a floor covered with ditches. It was a mess. In the center of the cavern stood Johanna and Nerida. Meanwhile, a disheveled, tattered-clothed, beggar-like old man slept soundly before them. His body was emancipated due to lack of replenishment to his body and soul, and on the ragged robes he wore, Michael saw the familiar symbol, a rising sun. It was without a doubt the crest of the Sunrise sect. Michael looked at Layla to see her examining the baby dragon. "Go on, talk to him," her voice was extremely plain, without the slightest emotion. Initially, he wanted to save only the baby dragon, but now, he wanted to save this old man. It was not because he loved to see the old man reunite with his granddaughter, but if he could save the old man, he would have a powerful soul-refining stage cultivator protecting his base of operations. Plus, by lifting the curse and reuniting the family would make the old man loyal to him. This would make recruiting this old man as his subordinate easier in the future. With these thoughts in his mind, Michael gently walked over and stared fixedly at the old man on the ground. The old man's face was ancient and haggard. He was currently sleeping peacefully. "Johanna, Nerida, play the Song of Fairies melody." "Yes, mistress." The two women did not hesitate to cross-stare and place the vina on their lap. As their fingers moved slightly, a wonderful vina sound was immediately generated. It was gentle, filled with serenity. It seemed to be able to comfort the emotions of a person, to allow that person to calm down. When the music reached Michael's ears, his slightly excited and frantic feelings also disappeared very quickly, making his mind calm. Layla Alden touched a string of her vina with an elegant finger. With a slight trembling, a note appeared that immediately began to slowly wake the sleeping old man. Chapter 150. The sleeping old man slowly opened his eyes while a sliver of haggardness and great exhaustion appeared on his face. As he woke up, his mind jerked. He could not help but trigger the descent of the celestial energy to become a soul-refining stage cultivator, but the descent was immediately suppressed by the soft sounds of a vina. "I thank the island mistress for saving my life. This old man is unable to repay the mistress' aid." The old man looked towards Layla Alden dully. His voice was extremely weak as Michael could barely hear the words coming out of the old man's mouth. In his exhaustion and pain, he even failed to notice the baby dragon in Layla's hands. "No problem. I'm helping you because I feel nothing but pity for you," Layla Alden spoke indifferently before turning to Michael. "Make the best use of the time you have to ask what you need to ask. This melody will only temporarily suppress him, but it can't last very long." The soft sound of the melody was heard by Michael and made him feel extremely calm. He hesitated slightly before pulling out a pendant made of orange stone from his space ring and showed it to the old man. "Do you recognize this?" When the old man saw the pendant in Michael's hand, his expression changed greatly. He called out, This is, no, how could this be?" Michael became slightly excited, but his excitement was suppressed by the vina music. He stared fixedly at the old man before speaking. "Perhaps you recognize this jade pendant." Michael took out another pendant. Unlike the previous pendant, the pendant he just took out had a glowing to it. He received this pendant from Claire after he became the core disciple of the sect. There were various different types of pendants, and all the people, from disciples to the teachers, elders, and guards, had one. Michael's pendant was the pendant given to a core disciple. The old man carried a mixed expression as a sliver of nostalgia appeared in his eyes. He recognized the origins of the pendant with a single glance, especially the morning sun's orange and the aged cracks on the pendant. He would never forget it, as it was created by no one but himself, decades ago. Where did you get this pendant? The old man asked. His expression was extremely complicated, a mess of emotions emerged in his eyes. Right now, Michael had essentially confirmed his suspicions. He knew this man was Claire's grandfather, the previous leader of the Sunrise sect. It was sect leader Claire who gave it to me. A gleam of light immediately flashed across the old man's eyes. He took a closer look at Michael before saying, "Are you a disciple of the Sunrise sect of Bredia?" The old man's voice trembled gently and carried a little excitement. Currently, even the Song of Fairies melody could no longer suppress his emotions. Yes, I'm the core disciple of the sect. Michael also became excited. System, can you be able to lift the curse after you come out of the safe mode? Yes. Hearing the system's answer, Michael's excitement skyrocketed despite the fact that he still didn't cure the baby dragon. The old man accepted the jade pendant from Michael's hand to examine it closely. He murmured to himself, "Claire, my little bear." The old man displayed emotions of reminiscence, and 2 trails of murky tears slowly flowed down his face. "Sect leader Christopher," Michael said respectfully. "Sect leader Christopher." The old man murmured before smiling at himself. "It's been countless years since someone addressed me like that." The old man weakly smiled. Behind his smile, Michael saw an immense pain. Great shock appeared in both Johanna and Narita's eyes as they witnessed this, both still playing the veena. The young man who appeared out of nowhere was actually a disciple of the old man's sect. The sudden change of events greatly stunned the two of them. Christopher wiped off the years with great difficulty. How is Claire? Just how is the sect after so much time?" Christopher asked. "Sect leader Claire is doing just fine, but I can tell you that she's missing you every single day, and don't worry about the sect, everything's perfectly fine." Michael lied because he did not want to reveal the sorry state of the sect and depress the old man even further. "That little girl has become a sect leader." Christopher revealed a smile of relief on his sallow face. He continued, "So many years have passed. Is Elder Sandra still alive?" "You have nothing to worry about, sect leader, everyone is just fine." Michael reassured the old man again. He wouldn't forgive himself if he let the old man die of a heart attack before he could recruit Christopher as his subordinate. "Young man, I don't think I would last long enough to see my little girl." Christopher scurried the ground beside him to fish out a jade box. "Please, give this to her, she deserves this." Michael did not accept the jade box but asked him in concern, "Sect leader, what happened to you? How did you get cursed by an elven great mage?" Michael seemed to touch on the source of Christopher's pain. It caused his eyes to become dull, while deep sorrow appeared on his face. Only after a while did he begin speaking. "If I don't tell you now, Claire may not know what happened to her family forever." Christopher let out a long sigh. The color of reminiscence appeared in his eyes as he murmured, "Claire is not a pure-blooded human. She was born to my son and an elven general, Alasha of the House Elikin." The old man's words shook Michael's heart. He never thought Claire was a half-elf. Marrying a human was a forbidden act in elven lands, but because the love they had for each other made Alasha elope with my son, Christopher said with an immense regret behind his voice. "I helped them settle in Bredia. We were a happy family." Young man, tears rolled out of the old man's eyes, his mouth curved upwards thinking about the happiest memories. "The day Claire born was the happiest days of our life. We had everything until..." The old man paused, a glimmer of anger rose within his eyes, "until the elven mage found us during one of our family outings. Alasha fought with the mage, giving us the time to escape, but the elven mage was too powerful. He captured her and cursed me and my son before teleporting to the elven lands. Claire was too little at that time to remember what happened to her mother. For Claire, her mother passed away. My son and I tried our best to fight the curse and rescue Alasha, but my son died fighting the curse. It should have been me." Michael could see the pain and anger in the old man's eyes. Even he himself felt a sliver of anger at those elves. They could have simply banished Elisha, letting her live her own life, but instead of doing that, they destroyed a happy little family. I never thought your family and the elves have a history. What they did to all of you is horrible, Michael said, feeling sorry for them. Then he turned his gaze towards Layla. Lady Alden, you said I may be able to help him. Tell me, what do I need to save them both? Only now the old man looked closer at Layla to see the grayish baby dragon. His eyes instantly widened in shock. Standing to one side, she watched the scene with no emotions on her face. After a slight pause, she said, yes, I know a way to help him and heal this dragon, but it will not be an easy thing. In fact, there's a strong possibility that you will die if you chose to help them. When Michael and Christopher heard what she had said, both of their eyes glowed immediately while the light of hope began to shine in their hearts. Michael asked hurriedly, Lady Alden, if there's something I can do to help them both, I will do it in a heartbeat. He did not back off from saving the baby dragon just because of her words. This was the time for him to take a risk. If anything goes wrong, he could always buy a teleportation scroll and escape. He was grateful to the system for at least letting him buy a teleportation scroll regardless of its current state. The system urges the host to take this risk. Just as he was thinking about the risk, he heard the system's voice in his head. It almost sounded like a plea. He frowned, but since he already decided to take this risk, he did not ask any question to the system. Layla said slowly, there is something called demon dragon heart in the treacherous ocean. It's condensed soul energy left behind by an ancient demon dragon. Although it won't break the seal, if you can find the heart, you can temporarily suppress the curse in his soul and cure the death kiss. He can then live at least for another 200 or 300 years of his life without suffering. Treacherous ocean, huh? He said with a deep voice. Shortly afterward, the light in his eyes glowed bright and brighter. For Michael, 200 years were more than enough to lift this curse because he did not plan to let the system continue being on the safe mode. If he could bring the system back online and get the price of lifting the curse, he would eventually earn enough points to save the old man. Chapter 151. No, the treacherous ocean is the second most dangerous place on the Elon continent, after the demon's grave. Even if Soul Refiner enters it, they might not be able to return. And something as great as the heart would only grow in the depths of the treacherous ocean. The dangers in the depths are several times deadlier than those on the outskirts. Young man, you must not go to the treacherous ocean. I can't let you sacrifice your life to save this old bag, Christopher said sternly. He was a disciple of one of the great clans. He read plenty of books about the dangers of the world, including the treacherous ocean. As a result, he knew about the treacherous ocean extremely well. Sect leader, I'm not doing this solely for you, I'm doing this for the both of you. Just like how much you love your granddaughter, I love that little dragon. If this demon dragon heart could save him, I will get it. With the heart, I can not only save him but also suppress your curse. You can't just give up and die, sect leader. Your granddaughter deserves better, she needs you. Michael spoke resolutely. He needed to go to the treacherous ocean, no matter how great the dangers were, to save the baby dragon. He did not fear it at all, as he had a gut feeling that this trip may bring the system back online. Christopher, your disciple fought the celestial energy without getting himself blown to death. Although it is rather dangerous to him, I think he can take care of himself if he's careful. Layla's nature-like voice appeared from one side. What? You survived fighting the Celestine energy descent? Christopher immediately became stunned. He stared blankly at Michael while great billows blew in his heart. For Michael, he did not realize how great a feat that he survived fighting the celestial energy descent. If he had known before that he could have exploded into a bloody mist, he wouldn't have chosen to even get near the celestial energy. It was the reason the two students of Layla were stunned to see him disrupt the celestial energy while being a mere body-strengthening cultivator. I could have died. Those bitches. Having heard the way Lial had talked about him surviving the celestial energy, he realized that it was a miracle he survived. He cursed at the two women who pushed him into the fight. Knowing that he could die made him want to kick the crap out of them. What if I died? The mere question put a few cold sweats on his back. Michael showed those grave thoughts behind his head. nodding slightly. Sect leader, you should believe that I have the strength now. You'll definitely find this demon dragon heart in the treacherous ocean and save you both. He reassuringly patted the old man's hand before leaving the cave. Raising his head, he looked at the cloudless blue sky before sighing deeply. He slowly suppressed his jumpy emotions. Today's encounters were like a dream to him. He had never thought that he would find the supposed to be the dead grandfather of Claire on the Rainbow Islands where he came looking for the so-called doctor who then turned out to be Layla Alden. Copycat, 8 great clans, celestial energy, damn this day has been a ride, he exhaled deeply. Well, why am I still thinking that this Layla is hiding something? He rubbed his chin when he heard Layla's voice from behind. You need to think this through. What you seek can only be found in the depths of the treacherous ocean. Do you really plan on going? Layla's voice appeared from behind. He turned back to see her gracefully walking towards him carrying the baby dragon in her hand. There seemed to be ripples in her eyes. They were alluring as if they could suck in the souls of people, which stunned Michael. However, with Michael's willpower, he did not lose composure. Please inform me of the whereabouts, Lady Alden. Layla stared fixedly into Michael's eyes. Michael did not show any signs of retreat and stared back at her. He remained calm throughout. This lasted for a while before Layla finally nodded. The treacherous ocean is known for its illusions. Various apparitions will appear, and the deeper you go, the stronger the illusions become. If you even slightly lose focus, you will become lost within. Your willpower should be enough to barely handle ordinary illusions. Without this death-kiss dragon, you asked me the same question, I would have just given you a map and sent you on your way, but this is a blessing in disguise. I knew she's up to something. Deep within those serene eyes, Michael noticed a hidden intention thanks to his ability to read people. You can't notice this, but this dragon radiates both the aura of the living and the dead because its soul is half a step into the realm of the dead. Using this dragon's aura, one can avoid being detected by most of the apparitions in the treacherous ocean. Since this decreases the danger of traveling into the ocean by several folds, and the demon dragon's heart is also extremely useful to me. It'll come with you, she said while caressing the baby dragon's grayish scale. He was still lying dormant in her hands. Aren't I a lucky bastard? Hearing her words, Michael was pleasantly surprised and his confidence in this trip into the treacherous ocean increased greatly. Although he still didn't know the full extent of her power, she was able to change the laws of the world as well as disperse the celestial energy through her vena melody, which was shocking enough. Soon after Layla discussed something with her students, Michael and Layla headed for the treacherous ocean together, leaving behind Johanna and Nerida to guard the island. The sky was fine and cloudless, it fused with the northern seas far away, as if it was a beautiful piece of art. With a slight wave of her hands, she covered both of them with celestial energy to soar through the sky. Michael's body jerked before they already became faint blurs, shooting across the sky silently as there was not even a whistling of the wind. Lady Alden, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell more about the sea folk? As they flew, Michael asked, looking towards Layla. At first, he wanted to ask why was she healing a few people of royal land under the name of the doctor, but weirdly, she did not ask him how did he find her identity. Therefore, Michael did not choose to question her intentions in case she had her own selfish reasons that she did not want him to know. Considering even his encyclopedia of this world, Gaia, had little to no knowledge about the so-called sea folk, he decided to get some info on them from Layla. A sliver of shock flashed across Layla's eyes. She turned and glanced at Michael, asking, why do you want to learn about the sea folk? Michael hesitated slightly before saying, to be honest, as a guy who loves to travel around the world, I want to know more about the places and races I have little knowledge of. People in Breedia don't have much knowledge about the sea folk race. Lady Alden, she stared at him for a moment. She could tell he was genuinely interested in knowing more about the sea folk, and since they have a long way to go, she didn't mind telling what she knew about the sea folk to pass the time. Their existence is similar to magical beasts. They also cultivate by absorbing the arch energy and can take human forms and speak human language. They don't possess intelligence any weaker than humans, either. The sea folk race inhabits the very bottom of the sea and takes up a rather large region of the oceans, while the entire region is encased by an extremely powerful barrier. This barrier was created personally by the water god during primordial times, and even fusion stage cultivators like me can't break the barrier. Not only does it separate the seawater, it holds it back at a range of several thousand meters. At the same time, it protects the sea folk from invasions of another species. She paused for a moment and went on, to the sea folk, this barrier acts as if it doesn't exist. Although it's unbreakable to most of the people on land, it will let anyone under the core strengthening stage enter the sea domain. Anyone under core strengthening stage. He took a note in his mind as she continued, I've visited the sea folk twice before. Although I don't know the situation there very well, I have some rough, general knowledge like they not only hate humans, but they also disapprove of them very much. If human experts want to survive there, they must be extremely cautious. Once they offend a member of the sea folk race, they will receive the hatred and pursuit of various other sea folks until they die or escape from the sea domain, which is very unlikely once the sea folks put a target on them. Michael pondered in silence for a while before continuing his questions. Lady Alden, just how powerful is the sea folk? Compared to the humans in the Elon continent, are they stronger or weaker? The sea folk is very powerful, Layla said sternly. In the ancient times, all the races except the sea folks waged war with each other for resources, lands, and whatnot. All sides suffered great losses, and several half-immortals fell, ending their legacies. Since the sea folk never took part in these ancient wars, their strengths and legacies were preserved perfectly. Although there aren't as many half-immortals across the entire sea folk as the ancient times, it's still not something the Elon continent or the beings living on the land can match. It's just that the sea folk evolved from marine organisms, so they're only made to inhabit the sea. In the sea, it's much easier for them to achieve greater results in cultivation. But once they leave the sea, cultivation becomes several-fold more difficult. They have always stayed in the sea and have basically never come to the land. This is because the sea is their holy land. Chapter 152, The Sea Folk race is split into mainly three factions, the Water God Hall, the Sea Serpent Hall, and the Arctic Hall. These three halls combine to make one of the two great clan of sea folks. According to what I've learned many years ago, the Water God Hall is the most powerful among the three and has an elder that has already reached the half-immortal stage. The other two halls each have one or two fusion stage warriors as well. This was many years ago. Who knows how many fusion stage and half-immortals or even immortals they have among them. For the first time, he heard a sliver of awe in her voice. One half-immortal and two fusion stage warriors, wow. Michael was also astonished by listening to Layla. As she said, this was years ago, he could only imagine how powerful they are now. He did not think any one of the races living on the land was weak, but because the sea folk never took part in any wars, he knew their strength is far superior to the land crawlers. If he could, he wanted to visit the sea folk soon. He had gained a rather rough understanding of the sea folks from Layla. After getting some ideas about the sea folks, he continued to ask Layla about the other races along the way, slowly expanding his knowledge about this world. The ocean they were flying above was enormous, several times larger than the Elon continent. Even though the treacherous ocean was very close to Rainbow Island, it took the two of them a full day and night of flying at such a speed before finally arriving. The treacherous ocean was a region of sea shrouded in a dark mist and stormy clouds. The sound of thunderclaps reverberated the entire sea while violet streaks of lightning kept lighting the gloomy clouds. The ocean itself seemed endless. Currently, Michael and Layla hovered in the sky a couple of kilometers away, staring at the mist cautiously. Layla knew that Michael's understanding of the treacherous ocean was limited, so she explained, the real dangers of the treacherous ocean lies in an island within the thick mist. We need to pass through the mist to reach there. You must never underestimate this mist. It's extremely powerful and strange. As soon as you enter it, all your sensory abilities will be suppressed, and your vision will also be greatly affected." Michael nodded, immediately becoming vigilant. The treacherous ocean was a dangerous zone, second only to the demon's grave. He could already see his environmental scanning is being disrupted by some kind of interference. "System, can you upgrade the environmental scanning?" "Unable to upgrade spells. The system is in safe mode." Michael kinda expected this, but it did not hurt to try. Since he got no help from the system, he had to rely solely on himself, on his skills as a hitman/assassin. "Let's go in. Follow me closely and don't stray away from me. You might see some illusions in the mist, but you need to remember that all of them are just illusions." Layla spoke with a soft voice, before handing over the baby dragon back to him. She then placed Angel's Vina into her left hand and gently played her other hand onto the strings. Seeing how cautious Layla was, Michael raised his own vigilance by taking out a few shiny bright orange pills and eating them like candy. The pills he just took were the perception pills. He concocted these pills as the new badge using a few herbs he brought from the Sky Garden. The perception pills had the ability to increase the consumer's sensors and perception by approximately 4 times, and because his environmental scanning is being disrupted by the treacherous ocean, these pills helped him stay keen about the surroundings. Although the pills were not as great as the environmental scanning, taking the pills was better than nothing. It only took a couple of seconds before he felt his senses getting heightened. He turned to see even the smallest details of Layla's robes, like those few dust particles on the robes, the teeny tiny birthmark on her slender neck that he didn't notice before. "Lady Alden, you want some?" He quickly stopped checking her out and asked her. "No, thanks." She gently shook her head. He shrugged, putting the baby dragon into his pocket, and moved closer to Layla before they slowly flew towards the fog together. As soon as he entered the fog, Michael felt like he had stepped into another world. It was misty white all over. Even with his heightened vision, he could only see 5 meters ahead. "Even with your dragon's aura around us, we'll encounter some attacks in this mist. Be careful." Layla's voice appeared on one side. Michael unsheathed his sword as he did not underestimate this place, not even for a bit. The two of them advanced carefully. They did not travel very fast, while the light in their eyes flickered, carefully observing the surroundings. At that very moment, a white light suddenly appeared, shooting like a lightning bolt towards Layla. "Be careful!" Michael cried out, directly slashing his sword at the light. Ding! However, Layla's reaction speed was faster than Michael's. The fingers she had placed on the Venus strings plucked gently, and a note rang out. It turned into a sound wave, colliding with the white light before Michael's sword could cut it. The ball of white light turned into a pile of dust and fell from the sky without any sound. Michael stared blankly at the pile of dust. What is that? Just a moment ago he did not manage to see what the ball of white light was. Those are mutated fish that inhabit the nearby water. Its speed is especially quick, and this fish has already reached the strength of level 5 body refining beast. Layla spoke indifferently. She clearly had an extremely great understanding of the place. Hearing this, Michael was secretly shocked. People like Victoria were boasting about their cultivation speed when they were at the level 5 body refining stage, but here, even a mere fish was at that exact level. A cultivator could manage to easily kill the fish just how Layla did, but Michael knew if those fishes came to attack with hundreds of its friends, they would be in deep trouble. Coupled with the limited vision thanks to the mist, even a core formation warrior could be killed if hundreds of these fishes attacked together. The two of them continued their way in the mist. After the attack from the weird fish earlier, he became even more watchful of his surroundings. The last time he checked, the responsive shield was still working, therefore, he did not need to worry about the attacks of anything under body strengthening stage level 6. However, he could tell that he's going to meet stronger foes further down in the road. As they advanced deeper and deeper, the weird mist also became thicker and thicker. Michael's heightened range of vision had already shrunken to 2 meters. Crossing the 2 meters, he could see nothing but the misty white screen. For others, looking through the eyes was the only way to see, but for Michael, he trained to perceive the surroundings using all of his senses. He listened and smelled on top of looking to be aware of the mist. Even though Layla's figure started to become blurrier, he followed her behind, smelling the alluring fragrance coming from her. Lady Alden, just how big is this area? How much further until we leave this damn region? We need to travel roughly 100 kilometers more to get out of this mist. With our current speed, it should take 5 or 6 hours, if we are lucky. Layla spoke calmly while her bewitching eyes flickered, vigilantly observing the surroundings. At that very moment, another few streaks of white light shot from the surroundings with lightning speed, just like before, except, this time Michael had sensed them thanks to his enhanced hearing. He swiftly slashed at the 2 streaks of white light without moving his body too much. There was no fancy move, just a plain simple slash, but it was lethal enough to take 2 lives. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 mutated beast. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 mutated beast. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 200 badass points. Soon, the 2 white streaks of light turned into dust, falling near his feet. Just as he lifted his sword to kill the rest of them, a clear note suddenly rang out. It turned into a visible sound wave that expanded into the surroundings. As the streaks of light came into contact with the sound wave, they immediately turned into a pile of dust, ripped apart by the Vina note. Michael narrowed his eyes slightly in a way it could not be detected. His recognition for the woman's strength increased by a level. She could display such strength with just a casual note. Even if these fishes were at the core formation stage, he could tell that they would not be able to withstand the power of her notes. Continuing onwards, Michael and Layla both suffered constant attacks from the mutated fish. With each wave of the attack, the number of fishes that attacked them increased significantly. Fortunately for Michael, they didn't get attacked by fishes stronger than a body strengthening stage 5. He slashed and diced them effortlessly. This put a small smile on his face as he acquired quite a lot of experience points killing these fishes. He would have killed more if Layla didn't massacre the majority of the fishes of each wave with a single note from her Vina. The 2 of them flew steadily through the fog for 7 continuous hours before passing through the region of fog and reaching the outskirts of the treacherous ocean. The deeper they went, the thicker the mist became. After over 8 kilometers, the mist had become so thick that he could barely see anything. Only the faint fragrance at Michael's nose signified her existence. This made Michael rely on his nose to detect where she is, using the fragrance from her body. Suddenly, Michael felt the mist before him surge violently. Shortly afterward, a blurry figure suddenly appeared, before quickly becoming clearly visible. It was a man in his late 60s. He wore a black suit and black trousers. In one hand, he held a bloody knife while in the other, he held a silencer-attached Beretta 92. Michael stared blankly at the old man who was smiling wickedly at him. His emotions were overwhelmed by disbelief. Along with disbelief, in Michael's eyes, a cocktail of anger, fear, and respect could be seen. Diddle. Diddle. Diddle, we are so little. The old man slowly uttered these words, stirring the buried emotions deep within his heart. Spectre. Michael unconsciously called out. His voice was filled with rage, and even his eyes became rather bloodshot. Chapter 153. Michael's heart began to tremble violently, and he tightly clenched his hands. He knew that it was an illusion from the mist, so he was unable to do anything about it. All he could do was remain clear-headed and not fall into it. At that very exact moment, Michael's body jerked violently. To his side, he suddenly saw a redhead girl who seemed to be in her late 20s walking out of the mist to stand next to the old man. Just like the old man, she too wore a black suit and trousers with a black tie, but her white shirt was drenched in blood. You killed me. Suddenly, the girl, with her bloody face, saw Michael and cried out. Her voice was extremely miserable, it contained a mix of anger as well as sadness. Soon after the girl, more and more black-suited people drenched in blood appeared out of the mist. All of their bodies were littered with bullet holes. Michael's body began to tremble violently while a monstrous killing intent had already appeared in his heart. Just when he was staring at the 20 people he knew extremely well, more figures walked out of the mist, and this time, they weren't grown men in black suits but gentle-looking women and little children. The commonality between the latter and the black-suited people was they all had bloody wounds. This is all an illusion. Spectre is dead, all of his students are dead, I killed them, Michael constantly mumbled to himself, forcing himself to calm down. Although he knew this was all just an illusion, what was happening was actually Michael's greatest anguish. Aren't you gonna save me, Michael? The girl called out for help once again. Her despaired voice was heard by Michael, slowly piercing Michael's heart. Arg! A miserable cry came from the other side. He turned to see one of the gentle-looking women was shot in the chest by one of the black-suited people. The woman collapsed in a pool of blood. Her clothes were dyed red by the blood, and even the ground had become red. The children were screaming in horror, but it just put a wicked grin on the black-suit man's face as he slowly made his way towards the children like a tiger hunting a group of helpless rabbits. Michael! Michael, save them. The woman who got shot by the man looked towards Michael lifelessly, and spoke weakly. The light in her eyes was quickly disappearing, soon becoming dull. In the end, she laid on the ground, unmoving. Michael's heart trembled greatly, while overwhelming anger and sadness clenched his heart. 2 streaks of sorrowful tears flowed from his eyes without any control. Although he trained himself to overcome the emotions, he failed to keep himself calm seeing the sight in front of him. It was an unimaginable mental blow to Michael to see the orphanage he grew up getting slaughtered by the black suit man. After he cleansed the arms dealing operations that put him in the path of becoming a hitman, he killed every single person who had a link to the criminal organization that ran the orphanage. It was his training. After cleansing the orphanage, he really thought the orphans there could have a better life than him, yet, it was the same man who trained him who ordered the massacre of his orphanage. Knowing that he was the reason for their deaths was Michael's greatest grief and regret. The illusion conjured by the mist had already deeply affected Michael. I asked you to kill one kid, only one, Ghost. If you hadn't refused, they would have been alive right now, well except for that one kid, Spectre, the old man said, playing with his pistol. The sight of his smiling broke the barrier that's suppressing Michael's anger. Arg! Michael roared powerfully at the sky. The sound was earth-shaking, resounding in the entire region. With the roar, an immense murderous aura, along with extremely dense killing intent, began to radiate from his body. The arch-energy in his body poured steadily into the sword, causing it to glow brightly with its dark light. Afterward, Michael swung it towards the old man who was smiling at him. Thrum! Suddenly, a loud and clear Venus sound, like a huge bell, appeared. A powerful sound wave with visible ripples collided with the sword in his hand, and the powerful strike directly forced the sword to bounce backward. Not only did the bell-like sound block Michael's attack, but the remaining sound waves also entered Michael's mind. It collided with his spirit like a boulder, causing Michael to feel like his head was exploding. He could not help but cry out painfully. Just mere, inferior illusions got you good. This is only the very outskirts of the treacherous ocean, there are more powerful illusions further on in. I really wonder how you're going to handle those. Layla's cold voice suddenly appeared in Michael's mind. Michael immediately snapped back to reality. A moment ago, when he had swung his sword at the enemies that killed his orphanage, he actually swung the sword at Layla, not at the old man. The illusions here really are powerful, Michael mumbled gently. His emotions, affected by the illusions before, slowly began to calm down. The illusion wasn't strong, your mental state is too weak. The illusion sucked you in so easily. It originates from your heart and mind, if your heart and mind are flawless and free from worries, how would a mere illusion affect you? This illusion can be considered as the weakest type. There will be more powerful ones once you enter the treacherous ocean. Layla spoke coldly. Looks like I'm overestimating you. Perhaps coming to the treacherous ocean with you was the wrong decision. She didn't change her cold tone at all. Her words really bothered him, but he agreed with her. Although he trained himself to suppress his emotions, he did not achieve perfection as Spectre. He couldn't be even compared with Layla in mental power. After all, he was still too young. Even with his 2 lifetimes combined, he was less than 60 years old. Meanwhile, people like Layla were people who had lived for centuries with enough descendants to form a large house. Michael may overcome them in terms of talent because of the system, but he was nowhere close in terms of life experience. The illusion was able to mess him up too much because of the bond he had with the orphanage and the people who lived there. Michael treated them with too much importance, practically viewing them as more important than his own life at one point in his life. He had clearly known that the images in the mist before were illusions, yet he still could not help but fall for them. Michael still was unable to endure the things happening despite knowing it was all fake. That day, he lost everyone who knew the real him. After that day, he became Ghost. The reason he chants diddle diddle before killing was to remind himself not to become like the man who trained him, Spectre. Never take a life without a reason and conscience. This was Michael's code. People like Layla, on the other hand, would not fall for illusions such as this as easily as Michael. They had lived for centuries, or even millennia, and had plenty of descendants. They probably have witnessed some of them dying of old age themselves. As a result, they would no longer treat the bond of the family as important and would be able to resist the illusions easily. Illusions originated from the mind and heart. If there were concerns or obsessions, the mist would create illusions accordingly, displaying your weakest point right before you. Illusions did not test a person's strength, but a person's heart and mind. He may have seemed like an invulnerable perfect person, but he was just a human being with his own flaws and imperfections at the end of the day. Michael's mind became much more resolute after experiencing what had happened before. He stared into the mist before him. The mist continued to surge, tossing about and changing around as if there was something ready to come out. However, Michael's state of mind immediately became like still water, free of any ripples. He did not think about anything, nor did he guess about anything. The silhouettes of the people instantly vanished from his sight except the old man's figure. He was following Michael. Michael ignored the old man, continuing to follow Layla. After over 2 hours of slow flying, he and Layla finally passed through the region of fog. The misty white blanket had finally disappeared from before them, replaced by deep blue seawater. "Hiya," Michael breathed out loudly. He felt much more relaxed after passing through the mist. He looked around but only saw that the surroundings and sky were all a surface of white. They were enveloped by a layer of dense, yet odd, mist as if it formed the edges of a separate world. The only thing still lingered around from the mist was Spectre, but Michael knew the old man was in his head, not in front of him, so he ignored Spectre. Below him was deep blue seawater. The water was smooth, like a mirror, and without any ripples, stagnant. It was extremely strange. In the center of all that was a huge island. It had an extremely large surface area and did not seem like it could be called an island, but rather a small continent. The island was mountainous, littered with trees, and was entirely blanketed by a thin layer of fog. It was hazy, adding on a layer of mysteriousness. Michael stared cautiously at the huge island before him and asked, "Is this the treacherous ocean?" Layla looked towards the island before her. She was rather stern, and she said, "Correct, this is the treacherous ocean, as well as the holy land of the former dragon clan, Dragon Island. Many millennials ago, there were not 8 but 9 great clans. The strongest of them all was the Dragon Clan. But something happened to them and changed the once great Dragon Clan to the current treacherous ocean. What happened to all those dragons?" Michael asked in doubt. Layla shook her head gently. "I do not know much about what happened in that age either. The very limited information on this matter all originate from rumors or those ancient records in the kingdom of Nagas. However, not a lot is recorded regarding what happened to the dragons who lived in that age or to the Dragon Island. Chapter 154. Alright, let's stop guessing about this, there's no point. We're currently on the outskirts of the treacherous ocean. Remember, the fog was not the real danger, the real dangers are on this island. When we enter the island, we have to be extra careful. The demon dragon's heart should be in the very center of the island. Michael and Layla both flew towards the island, landing on it soon after. In ancient times, the dragon clan filled this with formations. These formations automatically absorb the arch energy and even celestial energy to replenish themselves. Although it's been countless centuries since they were first laid down, a few that were set by remarkable experts still remain. They may not be as powerful as before, but we still need to be on guard. Layla explained to Michael in detail about some areas that he needed to be aware of on the island. Michael observed the island as he listened to Layla talk. They had already passed through the region of mist. Fortunately, his sight was no longer obstructed and much clearer now. The two of them slowly walked forwards, both were extremely careful as they traveled. At this very moment, the ground suddenly began to violently shake. 4 rock walls rose from the ground, forming a room and trapping the two of them inside. The rock walls radiated with a faint, golden luster while extremely powerful and pure energy vaguely being radiated from the rock walls. Soon afterward, stone spears coated in golden light began to arise from the walls. With whistling sounds, they shot towards the entrapped Michael and Layla at lightning speed. Dense clusters of spears shot from all directions, locking the two of them out of any paths for escape. There was only the misty white sky left for them to flee. Michael prepared himself to take off to the sky when he was stopped by Layla. Remember, you must never fly above 10 meters in the sky. The dangers in the sky are several times greater than on the ground. Layla's cold voice sounded in Michael's ears as she faced the spears calmly and unperturbed. Shortly afterward, she gently struck a string with her finger. The next moment, a vina note reverberated in the area. It spread out in all directions as a visible wave of sound. The sound wave contained an unbelievable power. Wherever it passed by, the rock spears disintegrated, turning into a pile of dust in the air. The visible sound wave cut through the surroundings like a hot knife through butter before colliding forcefully with the rock walls that trapped them in. With a rumble, the walls trembled violently before crumbling to the ground. The confining rock walls could only be used against anyone under the core formation stage. It was nothing to a fusion stage cultivator like Layla. However, it would be almost guaranteed death if Michael alone had been trapped by it. Breaking out of the rock walls, Michael and Layla continued on their way, walking directly towards the general region of the island. In the following part of the journey, they both experienced constant attacks from various traps. However, these attacks were not prepared for a fusion stage cultivator. Because of that, they were unable to pose much of a threat to Layla. The journey was frightening, but not very dangerous. Roar! Suddenly, a loud beast roared in the distance. The ground began to shake gently as a humanoid giant of over 15 meters in height ran towards them from afar at an exceptional speed, constantly roaring along the way. A rock golem, Layla calmly muttered. The rock golem ahead radiated an aura of a level 4 core formation warrior. Soon, her finger moved gently on the Venus string, and a sound wave immediately shot out towards the incoming war beast in the shape of a sharp arrow. Croak! The arrow formed from sound pierced through Rock Golem's chest. Rock Golem's overwhelmingly powerful defense was akin to soft butter before it, and the arrow punched a head-sized hole with no difficulty. Yet, no blood flowed out. The Rock Golem seemed to feel no pain, continuing onwards towards the two of them with great steps as it roared mindlessly along the way. Layla remained the same as before. Her white, elegant hands constantly danced around on the strings of her vina, producing beautiful sounds by playing it. With each note, a powerful sound wave shot out with lightning speed and struck Rock Golem's body. The Rock Golem did not dodge at all and continued in its charge towards the two of them in a straight line. Meanwhile, its huge, 15-meter-tall body was now riddled with holes while its head was already smashed to smithereens. But even with all that, even with its head missing, the Rock Golem did not die. It did not even slow down, much less show pain. It continued charging at the two of them without any pauses. Witnessing something so huge and dangerous as the golem, he felt grateful towards Layla because he knew he had a very slim chance to defeat the golem. Well, the number one hitman of the world is hiding behind a woman. I thought I taught you better. The old man laughed at Michael, but he ignored the old man's ridicule. Gentle Vina sounds, concealing killing intent within, constantly rang out. Layla's gaze remained calm throughout. Her right hand danced about on the Vina strings, sending out waves of powerful sound at the huge Rock Golem. Rock Golem's injuries became even worse after receiving such dense attacks. Its two limbs were quickly severed, while a large portion of its chest shattered. It had shrunk to 110 meters in height from the original 15. Any other magical beasts or living beings would have passed away long ago if they were in such a state. It was guaranteed death. However, the Rock Golem behaved as if it was completely uninjured, its remaining half of the abdomen and its huge, thick legs continuing to run with huge steps. Each and every step caused the ground to tremble constantly. Rock Golem was soon less than a kilometer away from the duo. Looking at Rock Golem, he prepared himself for a serious battle. Tiny cracks of golden lightning had started to dance around his fingertips. At that very moment, consecutive closely packed and frantic Vina notes rang out. Layla's right hand had slid across the Vina, playing 3 of the 7 strings together. Immediately, a series of densely packed sound waves radiated outwards, filling up space before them with visible ripples. The ripples joined together like a spider web, before quickly shooting towards the Rock Golem like a fishnet. The fishnet of sound passed through Rock Golem's body without any obstructions and disappeared into the distance. Soon, the huge Rock Golem collapsed loudly. Its entire body had become cubes of rock that fell to the ground, carved into countless pieces by the net of sound waves. Michael stared at the countless pieces of the Rock Golem curiously. After this battle, he couldn't help but wonder how powerful a fusion stage rock would be. Lady Alden, is every golem this powerful? Michael asked Layla. His heart was filled with curiosity and awe. After a short moment of silence, Layla replied, "No, the reason for its strength was the treacherous ocean itself. This place mutates everything. The beasts here have no soul, they can't feel any pain, and they are practically an indestructible army." Indestructible army, huh? Michael mumbled softly, imagining an army of these golems and beasts under his command. The Rock Golem in front of you cannot be killed, no matter what you do. Even if you obliterate its body, it'll recover in no time, Layla continued. The countless pieces of stones on the ground began to move about in one place as soon as she finished speaking, as if it was providing evidence for her statement. It condensed into the 15 meters tall Rock Golem once again after just a short while. Its body was completely unharmed, and even its head had recovered to how it was before without the slightest sign of injury. Michael's pupils narrowed to the size of a needle, and he immediately gasped coldly. He exclaimed in wonder, "My horizons really have been broadened today." Michael turned to Layla and asked, "Lady Alden, so how would one kill this Rock Golem?" Although the golem consumes a great amount of energy every time it reconstructs its body, its strength will decrease slightly. So, there's only one way to handle it: kill the golem until it's used up so much energy that it can't rebuild its body, Layla said. "We can always run away," she said, but he felt like she was testing his knowledge. "Lady Alden, I think if we do that, it just keep following us. Also, I don't think we can move around carelessly in this place. Once we let it follow us, the commotion might draw the attention of even more mutated beasts." "Good," she nodded as he gave an answer she wanted. After putting some distance between them and the recovering rock golem, Layla started to attack the golem again, and this time, Michael joined the fight by sending bolts of lightning at the golem. Under their teamwork, the rock golem did not last very long at all before being obliterated once again. However, its body quickly began to rebuild once again. It gave out an earth-trembling roar and attacked them mindlessly. For Layla, Golem's moves were slow, but it was an entirely different matter for Michael, who was just a body-strengthening stage cultivator. However, the perception pills and his natural instincts came to the play as he continued to evade Golem's punches until it was obliterated completely. The rock golem was destroyed into countless pieces of stones by Michael and Layla time after time. Its strength decreased greatly every time it rebuilt its body. After killing it a dozen or so times, the rock golem was finally unable to restore its body due to the overconsumption of energy. Its diced body parts lay scattered on the ground. Since Layla was the one who dealt the final blow every time, he did not get any badass points or experience points at all, but he valued his life more than the badass points or experience points. Layla walked over leisurely from afar with her Vina in her arms. She did not even look at the rock golem. Let's go. The commotion from before was too loud. Other magical beasts are probably going to rush over here very soon. Look at you, running away like a chicken. The old man's figure appeared again behind him and snickered before they left the area. Chapter 155. Michael glanced deeply at the countless pieces of stones of the golem. He did not say anything and silently followed Layla away. Just as the two of them traveled several kilometers, they immediately felt several powerful presences appear behind them. They were all from magical beasts and golems that had reached the core strengthening stage. Not too long afterward, another dozen or so weaker presences appeared from behind, all of which were at the core formation stage. Michael looked back. Through the thin mist, he could see several human figures and silhouettes of huge magical beasts currently pacing mindlessly around the golem. Michael understood that they were the same as the golem, buy-ins that were made an unknown number of years ago by the Dragon Clan. They had neither intelligence nor souls and moved about according to their instincts. Come closer and keep the Death-Kiss Dragon's aura around us and don't make any signs to alert them. We may not fear them, but getting tangled with them will be problematic. Layla whispered to him. Lady Alden, I can vaguely see humanoid creatures back there. What are those? They are those who ventured into the treacherous ocean and died many millennia ago. Just like everything else here, they too have no soul and feel no pain. Just how many of those things are there? Michael asked another question. His face didn't have the usual cool smile as he seemed very serious. All these beings in the treacherous ocean possessed indestructible bodies. They felt no pain and had no fear. If the two of them were surrounded by these mutated beasts, it would be extremely troublesome or even life-threatening. The treacherous ocean has already existed for countless years. During that period of time, plenty of human experts and intelligent beasts have ventured into it. Some of these have fallen in search of or battling over treasure, while others have died simply because of the treacherous ocean. Over the years, the experts that have died in the treacherous ocean have already accumulated a terrifying number. Every person that dies here will become like them, immortal and unaging. As a result, the number of powerful beings in the treacherous ocean will only increase, and never decrease. Today, probably even powerful organizations like the 9 great clans have no idea about exactly how many fusion stages or even half immortals there are in the treacherous ocean. The only reason we were able to make it this far is because of the aura of the Death-Kiss Dragon. If we weren't surrounded by this aura, our presence would have alerted even more powerful mutated beings or the formation set by the Dragon Clan. Michael felt even more heavy-hearted. No wonder Christopher became so afraid when he heard the mention of the treacherous ocean. While following Layla, he couldn't help but wonder that if the second dangerous place was like this, how terrifying the demon grave would be, which is said to be the most dangerous place in this world. Even a fusion stage cultivator survived here this long only because of the Death-Kiss Dragon's aura. Otherwise, they could easily face life-threatening dangers with just a lapse in concentration. Whoa! Michael's body jerked. Suddenly, the scene before them changed greatly. The original island disappeared instantly, replaced by an endless desert. A flaming red sun hung in the sky, scorching the ground with terrifying heat, raising the temperature of the entire region to a terrifyingly high temperature. "We've fallen into a formation." Layla furrowed her eyebrows and spoke with a deep voice. Michael immediately unsheathed his sword and looked around for any activity vigilantly. He also ate some perception pills again, preparing for another battle. He had witnessed the horrors of the treacherous ocean, so he did not dare to be careless at all. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble violently. The ground where Michael and Layla stood slowly began to sink into the ground and, at the same time, their feet were trapped by the moving sand, constantly sucking and dragging both of them underground. "Fly!" Layla spoke coldly. With a flick of a finger, a sound wave immediately collided with the ground, turning the sand trapping their legs into dust. She immediately began to float. Michael did not hesitate either. He stepped onto the flying sword and put arch energy into the sword. The devastating force of the arch energy turned the sand into dust, propelling him out of the ground. The sand below the two of them constantly sank down, forming a huge black hole. A putrid smell wafted from it. Just a breath of it was suffocating. Soon afterward, the entire desert began to tremble violently before forming a weird but huge, almost 200-meter-long monster. The horrid gaping cavern below the two of them was the enormous mouth of the beast. The monster seemed like a lizard that had been magnified countless times. It had light brown skin with countless cracks, radiating scorching hot. Its entire body seemed to have formed from sand. "This is a region created from the fusion of a killing formation and an illusionary formation," Layla mumbled softly. She could tell that it was all an illusion with a single glance. The formation here was cast down by experts of the Dragon Clan. It's extremely well hidden, so it can catch people completely off guard. We need to be careful in the future. It's fortunate that the formation just then was not as powerful as before, or it wouldn't have been that easy to break free from it. Layla said indifferently. Michael nodded sternly. His fear for the formations was even greater than Layla's. The illusions of Spectre were still following him and affecting his focus as the old man was so lifelike. He did not fall prey to another illusion. Several powerful presences quickly flew over from the distance at that moment, attracted here by the commotion, hurrying over from all directions. Michael and Layla immediately flew away from the monster. The living corpses all behaved instinctively. They were unable to perceive things visually, unable to see anything. They completely relied on sensing foreign presences and activity to search for living organisms. Thanks to the death-kissed aura, they were unable to pinpoint Michael and Layla's location. Michael and Layla traveled far from where they were before. Living corpses that hurried over in the meantime, from everywhere. They all stopped where the two of them were before lifelessly. They paced about mindlessly, without dispersing for a very long time. The two of them advanced carefully, where Layla discovered traces of many formations and a few living corpses, both human and magical beast. They kept a wide distance from them, so the journey was frightening, but there weren't any battles. The two of them flew with their guards up, occasionally stopping to look around. They had only traversed a couple of hundreds of kilometers in over half a day, yet they still remained in the outskirts of the treacherous ocean. They had not even reached the general region of the island. The sky, concealed by a thick layer of fog, darkened slowly. The darkness of night filled up the treacherous ocean slowly. As expected, both of them were unable to see in the darkness of the treacherous ocean, which caused the range of their vision to shrink constantly. Layla traveled with her vina in her hands. She looked at the darkening sky, and her bewitching eyes became rather stern. She said, "It's darkening. It's not suitable for us to travel at night. We need to find a stop to rest for the night and continue tomorrow." "Fine with me, Lady Alden," Michael replied calmly. Eventually, Michael and Layla spent over an hour finding a cave that was spacious enough. The cave curved about inside and was about 100 meters long, so they did not fear that they would be seen inside. At the end of the cave, Layla produced a fist-sized luminous pearl from her space ring and lodged it into the roof of the cave. It shone with a gentle light, illuminating the darkness. In the treacherous ocean, the living corpses were extremely sensitive to any ripples of energy ripples as well as objects that never usually appeared in the treacherous ocean. This was why they could not light a fire. The heat and smoke would travel outside and draw on the living corpses or the golems or any other weird beings in the area. The only way for light was through the luminous pearl. Layla sat down and slowly closed her eyes after lodging the pearl in place. She paid no attention to Michael while he ignored the old man sitting beside him and applied the healing potion on the baby dragon's grayish scales. He then found a clean part of the ground and sat down with his legs stretched out. He glanced to his side, glancing at Layla who always kept her face concealed. "You are not the ghost I know, kid, you have become weaker, get out of my head." Michael closed his eyes for a moment, calming himself down. Looking away from Spectre, he cast away the distracting thoughts in his mind and began to look into his situation. He first opened up the system's interface to see it's still in safe mode. His remaining sword was almost on the verge of breaking because of the fight he had with the fishes and the golem on their way. The sword's condition was not his worry as he knew a sword alone won't make much difference in front of these living corpses and golems. He needed to depend on the baby dragon's death-kissed aura and Layla to survive this place. "You forgot the first lesson I taught you, kid, never depend on someone else other than yourself." "What are you doing?" "The rules have changed, old man, this is not the Earth," he said, gritting his teeth. "People like us can't depend on others, kid, as I said before, this is not Earth. If I wanted to rule this world, I have to depend on others." "Ha ha ha ha." The old man burst into laughter, although Michael could understand all of this was happening inside his mind. It felt so real. "That's the most childish thing I heard in my entire life, kid. Do you really believe you can rule this world? People like us don't get a happy ending, there will be always someone on the good side to put us down. It's only a matter of time before someone put an end to you, kid." "I know it's not you talking but my own subconscious mind." Michael gave a short slap to the back of his head and ignored the old man. "I need some fresh air." He then stood up to take a walk. Chapter 156, What are you trying to do? Just as he stood up, a chime-like voice appeared from behind him. Michael abruptly looked backward as he heard it. Layla had already opened her eyes. Her limpid eyes seemed to contain ripples like autumn water, staring at Michael with a bewitching charm. Michael remained calm, staring back at Layla. "I'm going for a walk." Layla slowly closed her eyes and said gently, "Remember where you are right now. You can't make trouble. Not only will you lose your life but also lose the baby dragon, our best chance to survive this place." "Lady Alden, don't worry. I'm not going to mess around with my life." Michael laughed gently, before concealing his presence. He walked outside silently. It was already pitch black outside the cave. The sky was dark, devoid of any stars. Michael's vision was affected by the darkness in the treacherous ocean as well. It was not as bad as the fog where his hand would leave his range of vision if extended, though it was still limited to only several hundred meters because of the perception pills he took. Deathly silence lingered in the surroundings, with no sound at all. It was as if only Layla and he were in the entirety of the treacherous ocean without any other traces of life. Michael calmly stood at the cave's mouth, staring at the place. He did not make any sound at all. Suddenly, Michael's ears twitched slightly. Soon after, a gleam of light immediately flickered in his dull eyes. He suddenly raised his head and stared fixedly into the distance, becoming grim in a flash. A while later, several dark figures slowly emerged in Michael's vision range. They traveled on the ground, walking slowly in Michael's direction. Their movements were stiff like robots. Drops of sweat began to drip down from his head staring at the figures. They were all at core strengthening stage and he could even sense some soul refining humanoid figures among the dark figures. Michael's calm expression was replaced by a stern look. Locking his gaze with the dark figures, he slowly backed away without making a sound. Shit, they found us. Michael was shocked. He had no time to wonder how as he rushed to the end of the cave. He needed to tell Layla about this. Perhaps she had sensed Michael's hurried steps. Layla had already opened her eyes when she arrived at the end of the cave. Even in a situation like this, she maintained her graceful composure. Lady Alden, there's a group of core strengthening and a few soul refining mutated creatures heading towards the cave, Michael said silently. Hearing that, Layla's expression changed abruptly. She stood up suddenly, eyebrows furrowed and expression grim. She could handle a few fallen core strengthening mutated beings, but she seriously doubted that she could fight a group of core strengthening beings and a few soul refining beasts at the same time. The battle would alert even more mutated beings. Furthermore, it was night right now. Visibility in the treacherous ocean was too limited, while the dangers were unknown. It was even more dangerous than fleeing in the daytime. Just how far are they from the cave? Layla asked, her tone was stern. Around 400 meters, Michael replied. Neither of them dared to speak aloud. This cave must have been where they once stayed. Quickly, we need to leave here immediately. Layla showed no hesitation, running towards the outside with Avina in her arms while Michael followed closely behind her. Both Michael and Layla knew the outcome extremely well if they met these mutated beings. Even with the baby dragon's aura, the mutated beings still would be able to sense them if they became too close. The two of them hurried out of the cave. They moved completely silently, without making any sound at all. Both of their faces turned pale when they arrived at the entrance of the cave. There were 7 human mutated beings, and they had already arrived within 50 meters of the cave entrance. They were all expressionless, with lifeless eyes and stiff movements like robots. Furthermore, they were all at the core strengthening stage. When Michael and Layla arrived at the entrance of the cave, he scanned the area and then heaved a small sigh of relief because the soul refining stage mutated beings were far away from the core strengthening stage group, which gave Michael an idea. Powerful auras immediately began to radiate from the mutated beings' bodies as surging energy trembled in their bodies. The region turned into a storm of energy instantly. Fuck it, I have to use that. He was saving that item for a dire situation and this was such a situation. He quickly promoted the system to show his storage. Inside the dark bluish system storage, a veil radiating golden rays of light appeared in front of his eyes. It was the healing potion he got by opening his first gift box after coming to this world. Refer to Chapter 3 if you have no idea what I'm talking about. He received 2 healing potions and because he had no other way, he used one to save Raylene and her baby. The one in front of him was the last healing potion that could make him immune to any attacks for 2 full minutes. He knew 2 whole minutes of immunity is a super op thing and now is the time to use the potion. Lady Alden, do you have a sword or anything like that to fight these things? To get the most out of the healing potion's effects, he needed a good sword or a weapon to kill these mutated beings. The sword on his back was in no condition for another life or death battle. Why? You are not strong enough to fight them. Trust me, Lady Alden, I have a way. Seeing no other way and the confidence in his eyes, she flicked her wrist as a bunch of swords and spears appeared on the ground before Michael. All of the weapons that just appeared were either epic or rare. He did not have time to study them to pick the best. He just picked 2 swords with brown hilts and silvery blades. Of course, they were epic weapons. She creased her brows, having no idea of what's he planning. Lady Alden, use your strongest attacks on the mutated beings I'm targeting and try to keep the others from me. Don't come closer to them, use the distance to your advantage, and after exactly 2 minutes, we make a break for it, hopefully before any soul refiners appear. That's my boy, the old man beside Michael clapped. Layla on the other hand furrowed her brows. You're going to fight them head on. You have no chance of winning, roar. All the mutated beings produced monster-like roars at the same time. They no longer remained like before with the roar, becoming much more nimble. With a few blurs, the 7 core strengthening warriors charged at Michael and Layla. I got this. Just after these 3 words escaped his mouth, Layla saw him take out a golden color elixir and finish it in one gulp. Our time starts now. In a blink of an eye, Michael turned himself into a bolt of lightning and dashed forward, targeting one of the muted beings. The arch energy in Michael's body flowed steadily into the 2 swords in his hands. He used the lightning dash, arriving before one of the core strengthening stage warriors instantly in the form of a blur. He stabbed the sword that radiated with the energy of destruction into the corpse's chest with lightning speed. The living corpse did not show any intentions of dodging as it faced Michael's attack. It paid no attention to Michael's sword, directly throwing a punch at him. His mastery over swords and nimble body let him easily dodge the attack. Croak. One of the swords passed through the person's chest without any obstructions, reappearing on the other side. Again, there was no blood or even any signs of pain on the person's face. Meanwhile, his fist continued towards Michael with great strength. Michael used the lightning dash, dodging the punch in a blink of an eye. He quickly evaded to the side, slashing the person using both of his swords. They directly chopped away half of the mutated person's chest, leaving only half of his body connecting the upper torso and lower half. He did not stop from cleaving its body into 2 halves but continued to slice and dice the body. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. Wind blast. Ignoring the notification, he raised his hand, shooting a wave of forceful wind from his palm to send the diced body parts flying in all directions. At this very moment, another 2 core strengthening stage warriors attacked Michael at the same time from the side. Their attacks were extremely simple, bluntly hurling their fists without any fancy tricks. Ding! Suddenly 2 visible notes of music pushed the mutated beings away from Michael and disoriented them, and the music was powerful enough to rip off the mutated beings' hands off, allowing Michael to slice and dice them before wind blasting them to far away. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. The falling of the 3 mutated beings did not stop the rest of them from attacking Michael. They all targeted mainly Layla because she was the strongest and wasn't covered by the Death-Kiss Dragon's aura. However, this didn't stop them from throwing a few killing blows at Michael. Polch! Polch! Layla saw he was punched in the face and the chest by 2 mutated beings, but before she could actually react, he swung his whole body and slashed the 2 of them like their punches did not hurt him at all. She was stunned by the sight because a normal body strengthening stage cultivator could have survived those punches. She was sure of it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 10,000 badass points. The 2 swords swept through the air as a black streak of light with a destructive aura, severing their heads. He had directly bisected 2 mutated beings. As expected, even with severed heads, they quickly approached Michael, directly kicking at him. Ding! Ding! At the same time, 2 more musical notes cut their bodies further before Michael sliced them up again. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is body strengthening stage level 6. Chapter 157. Michael remained expressionless regardless of reaching the next level. Layla's musical notes again crushed the mutated being closer to Michael, but still, it couldn't stop it from punching him in the chest. Just like before, the punch did not affect him at all. Michael felt like he was being hit by a huge hammer, yet thanks to the healing potion, he experienced no pain. Swiftly, his right hand moved, slashing the mutated being who just punched him countless times at devastating speed. The densely packed blurs seemed to form a closely knit net, enveloping the mutated being's body parts layer after layer. Michael exhibited the full power of his sword mastery. In that very moment, he had thrust his sword out over 100 times with unbelievable speed. Right now, the closely knit net seemed to become like a meat grinder, directly shredding the mutated being into countless pieces of dried flesh. Although the mutated beings were core strengthening stage warriors, they couldn't fight with their best because of the teamwork between Michael and Layla. Besides, they had no weapon and were unable to use the arch energy. Since these mutated beings had no functioning brain, they did not even have the most basic awareness for dodging or resisting. All they knew was to attack outsiders with their fists, to slaughter the outsiders. In a nutshell, these were all like netherals. As a result, the strength of the mutated beings was far from the time they were alive, therefore he was able to slice and dice them like veggies without much trouble. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a core strengthening stage level 7 mutated being. The reward is 90,000 experience points. Finishing off the mutated being, Michael immediately used the lightning dash, disappearing instantly. Just when Michael disappeared, two fists brutally spaced into the empty space he was before. The power created a sonic boom. Plop! Suddenly, a visible note clashed with the mutated being behind Michael, easily severing the limbs. Again, Michael sliced the body before wind blasting the pieces far away, so the pieces won't reform quickly in front of him. Unexpectedly, more mutated beats appeared out of nowhere, surrounding them. Michael already felt the effects of the healing potion fading away little by little. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Body Strengthening Stage Level 7. On the other side, while Michael was fighting the remaining mutated beings, Layla fought the 4 newly arrived Human Core Strengthening Stage mutated beings. She carried her Vina in her left hand while her left hand constantly danced about on top of it. Sound waves collided with the 4 core strengthening stage warriors one after another. Every sound wave would create a great hole as they hit them, and the knockback was so powerful that the 4 struggled to advance forwards. Although Layla took a different path of cultivation, her strength clearly was much greater than anyone in the same stage as her. The special sound wave attacks carried a great strength, able to stop the advance of 4 core strengthening stage mutated beings without much difficulty at all. It was even enough to make the 4 of them retreat, unable to approach Layla no matter what. Layla played 5 of the 7 strings with a rhythm. Each sound wave shot out from Angel's Vina as her fingers moved, and whenever a sound wave would collide with one of the 4 core strengthening stage beings, it would leave behind some energy of the Vina in the air. Slowly, the residue energy accumulated and became denser and denser, and when it reached a certain level, Layla also stopped playing. She looked towards Michael and called out, "Retreat quickly." Hearing it, Michael did not hesitate at all. He immediately finished off his last mutated being before turning into a chain of blurry figures and retreating to Layla's side. Layla's finger slowly fell on the 6th string, which caused it to fluctuate gently. The 6th Venus string produced a clear sound. It began to tremble heavily, and shortly afterward, the Vina energy that had accumulated in the air suddenly became extremely violent. With a boom, the Vina energy immediately exploded, where the violent ripples directly ripped the 7 Saint Ruler mutated beings to shreds. Roar! 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 The commotion of battle here had alerted the experts far away. Immediately, dozens of beast-like roars resounded from far away in all directions. The roars flooded the sky, essentially resounding throughout the entire treacherous ocean and the pitch-black sky. Immediately, a dozen or so presences radiated over from different directions, and even further away, an even more powerful presence faintly appeared, including soul-refining stage mutated beings. "Leave here quickly," Layla said hoarsely. She could already feel the appearance of a terrifying presence, something that would even be able to cause her fear. It was a fusion stage living corpse. Michael also looked grim. Although his environmental scanning was suppressed in the treacherous ocean, he was still able to clearly feel the presence of more and more terrifying mutated beasts. He had also discovered that at least several dozen core strengthening and soul refining stage warriors were currently flanking them from all directions. Once they were trapped, the outcome would be virtually disastrous. It could even attract even more experts. Michael and Layla fled at top speed, fleeing into the distance as fast as they could. However, before they could get any further, the 7 core strengthening stage warriors ripped into smithereens by the sound waves had reformed. He was damn stunned to see the 7 of them again, not because he expected them to stay dead but according to his calculations, they shouldn't be here this soon as he blasted the pieces away in all directions and it should have taken some time to reform and reach the battle site. They all roared at the 2 of them, who had yet to flee far. A sliver of cold light flashed across Layla's eyes. She immediately placed the angel's vina before her, beginning to play it. However, with a flash from beside her, Michael had already charged at the 7 core strengthening stage warriors using the lightning dash as he carried the 2 swords. He called out, 40 seconds, he counted the remaining time before shouting at Layla, let's go. Layla looked around the surroundings. She could feel that the experts rushing over from all directions were getting closer and closer. She said with a deep voice, it's extremely difficult for both of us to throw them off in an extremely short amount of time with our strength. Once the mutated beings arrive and surround us, Michael slashed his swords a dozen times instantly, dicing one of the core strengthening stage warriors with a mere face-off. He cried out, we don't have time for this. I know you can also sense the terrifying presence approaching us, let's go, we are running out of time. His voice was heard by Layla clearly. For a moment, Layla's gaze became complicated. She stood there in hesitation and did not leave immediately. Although she had reached the fusion stage at a young age, he could tell she had not much battle experience as she lacked the quick responses of Michael. The system urges the host to buy a special teleportation scroll for 10,000 badass points. Do it. He screamed in his mind and then he heard the system again, only the host is allowed to teleport using the scroll. For a second, the system sounded like it was screaming with regret and anger. Fuck. He cursed inside, turning his gaze at Layla before another mutated being could come closer. I'll hold them off, you get out of here. He came in front of her, shielding her from the mutated being's attacks while she was standing there, slightly traumatized. I can take these attacks for another 30 seconds, it'll keep them busy while you fly away from here. She had never thought that in the dog-eat-dog world where it was filled with malevolent people, there would actually be someone so stupid that they would take an almost fatal risk to block several dozens of powerful entities, just to earn some precious time for a stranger that they had only met several days ago to escape. In a situation where death was virtually guaranteed, even brothers related by blood could betray each other, let alone a stranger. However, she had no idea that she's totally wrong. He was not being a white knight in shining armor, but he didn't want her to think that he abandoned her. After all, he still needs her help to get what he wants. Besides, he couldn't let her see him use a teleportation scroll as she mentioned to him that no scrolls would work here, and if she sees him using one, it would definitely lead to some unpleasant questions. On the other hand, Michael's actions immediately caused a great change to Layla's gaze towards him. She stood there as the light flickered through her eyes uneasily. She did not know whether she should abandon Michael to flee for herself or to stay behind and fight with him. Although she had little chance of getting the demon dragon's heart at the center of the island without the death-kissed dragon of his, she could still survive on the outskirts before leaving the island. Currently, the great presences from all directions were getting closer and closer. Seeing how Layla still did not leave, Michael could not help but become mad. He called out, "What are you staying here for? What will you do? You won't survive, I have no time to explain, leave." Layla looked at Michael, who was currently battling the several core strengthening stage mutated beings while counting the seconds in his mind. In the end, she gritted her teeth and made her decision, turning around and leaving. She disappeared into the darkness in the blink of an eye. Even though her abilities with the Vina were extraordinary, she lacked the battle experience and the heart of steel like Michael. Once she was surrounded, she knew that it would be much more dangerous for her than Michael, who certainly had a way to deal with them and escape. Chapter 158. After Layla departed, Michael slowly backed off from the mutated beings to use the teleportation scroll. Meanwhile, the presence from the surroundings was currently approaching where he was. Michael kept the mutated beings around him busy all by himself. He constantly dealt terrifying sword wounds to them, but these injuries did not affect them at all. They battled for just a few seconds, and 5 of the 7 mutated beings were already diced up by Michael. However, their bodies rebuilt themselves immediately. They were completely indestructible. "Time to escape, kid," the old man's voice sounded from behind. "System, use the scroll now." The very next moment he shouted, a golden light instantly covered Michael before a mutated being threw a punch aiming at his chest. He immediately moved his body to save the baby dragon from getting punched to death and took the punch directly on his left chest. Currently, the violet-dressed Layla stood several kilometers away, staring in Michael's direction, showing mixed expressions on her face. She could clearly hear the noise of intense battle, which then gradually faded away. "I hope you come back alive," Layla murmured gently. Afterward, she went off quickly into the distance with her Vina, slowly disappearing into the darkness. Somewhere far away in the treacherous ocean, a golden spatial hole in the mid-air appeared. In a flash, the golden hole disappeared, but one could see a black figure screaming and falling from the sky. Phew! Thud. The black figure hit the ground, producing a loud thud noise. The black figure was no one but Michael, whose right hand now looked weird and bones sticking out because of the fall. Michael spurted out blood, his chest was aching like he was being hammered alive. He was experiencing excruciating pain in his abdomen and chest, and he could tell he had broken a couple of ribs. Gritting his teeth in pain, he willed the system to give the healing potions he brewed from the system storage. The healing potion appeared on the ground as he slowly reached out his left hand to pick it up, fighting the pain inside of him. The fall broke his arm, but the punch he received from the mutated being just before activating the teleportation scroll messed up his inside. Luckily, there was only a millisecond's difference between the punch and the end of the golden healing potion's effects. Cough. Cough. He coughed out a mouthful of blood again while checking to see the baby dragon's condition. His last-second dodge thankfully saved the baby dragon. He heaved a sigh of relief. "You better come back to life stronger," he nudged the sleeping dragon with his bloodied fingers. Shockingly, the corners of the baby dragon slightly, very slightly, like it could still understand what he was saying. This little act of the baby dragon put a smile on his face and momentarily gave him the strength to overcome his pain to swallow the healing potion. Crack. The very next moment he gulped the healing potion. He cracked his right arm to set the bones in the correct position so the healing potion would heal his wounds much more quickly and efficiently. After getting fully healed, he did not go anywhere, sitting back down on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. He waited silently for dawn, as he always remained vigilant of any activity in the surroundings. Originally, he wanted to return and rendezvous with Layla. But traveling in the night in the treacherous ocean truly was a bad idea, and Layla probably left the region before long ago. It would be extremely difficult to search for her with a limited range of only a few hundred meters. "System, show my stats," he ordered the system in his mind as the familiar stat window appeared in front of him. System version 3.0, safe mode, host, Michael cultivation level, body strengthening stage, level 7 experience points, 30,000/300000 badass points, 29,000 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL2 lightning dash, LVL2 energy devour, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques, swords of destiny, 89% mastery occupation, core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the abyssal status, recovering goals, control the world, rebuild the order. Of death, utility function, banker, LVL3, ratio, 1000 gold coins, 10 badass points, wealth, 1,670,000 gold, special trait, 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 95%, base of operation, Sunrise Sect, the abyssal. At this rate, I will be a core formation warrior in no time. This is exciting, Michael thought. I hope you come out of the safe mode system, Michael said, staring at the grayish interface. The system can vaguely feel a sliver of extremely potent energy. After a pause, he heard the system's voice in his mind. He sensed a sliver of excitement in the system's voice. What are you talking about? What energy? The system level is too low to answer the host's question, figured. Michael finished the system sentence, rolling his eyes. The system urged the host to be extremely careful here. What happened to adventure out, exploring the dangers? The system did not utter a word after his question. To be honest, he missed having these little conversations with the system. He expected the system to be more human-like after upgrading, but contrary to his expectations, the system entered into a safe mode, returning to its previous robotic nature. Suddenly, Michael's expression changed. He quickly exited the system, narrowing his eyes at distance. Caution flickered in his eyes. I can't stay here for long, damn it. Is this just a coincidence, or they are somehow finding me? Several powerful presences appeared far away, quickly approaching the area. Pushing away all his questions to the back of his mind, he carefully placed the baby dragon into his pockets before disappearing into the dark night in the blink of an eye. Not long afterward, numerous core strengthening and soul refining mutated beings flew over from a distance. They all stopped where Michael was, mindlessly strolling around, and did not disperse even after a very long time. Michael's figure appeared silently several hundred meters away. He stared closely at the mutated beings and thought, Layla said the baby dragon's aura will prevent the powerful mutated beings from detecting us, but why do I still get the feeling that someone's watching me? Trust your instincts, kid. The old man appeared beside him, but Michael ignored the old man's comments and disappeared into the dark night once again with a slight movement, silently moving off into the distance. Visibility quickly recovered as the darkness of the treacherous ocean receded in the morning of the next day. Slowly, the island became fully visible once again. Michael slowly opened his eyes in his seated position on a flat meadow in the treacherous ocean. He had spent the latter half of the night there, and the long-awaited dawn had finally come. His vision was extremely clear again without the concealment of the night. He could clearly see several kilometers away in the open area. He did not stay here much longer, following the signs of battle from the night before to continue on his way towards the depths of the treacherous ocean. He hoped he could find Layla, who he had been separated from. Only by traveling together he could survive this place and get what he wants. He hurried on his way, but his vigilance did not decrease by the slightest. He would look around for any signs or hidden traps from time to time. Along the way, he found many mutated beings wandering around mindlessly. They were all either core formation or core strengthening stage beings, but with no exception, Michael avoided all of them from afar, without even coming within a 1,000-meter radius. After last night's events, he seriously doubted that the death-kissed aura could completely make him invisible to all these mutated beings. A couple of hours later, he arrived at a mountain range. The forest on and around the mountain was slightly misty, covering a large portion of it. He paid attention to his surroundings as he walked, arriving at the location where he had been separated from Layla very soon. Afterward, he continued inwards. An hour later, he was amidst the mountain range. This was the general region of the treacherous ocean, sandwiched between the outskirts and the center. Only by passing through here could he directly arrive at the depths. He took each step with the utmost caution, expecting a surprise attack. I wonder what else I would find in the depths of this place. Suddenly, Michael paused. His eyes were locked with the boulder that was as tall as a man not too far away. On the boulder grew a plant half a meter long, and from the stalk, there were 2 leaves and a blue flower. His neck hair stood straight up when he laid his eyes on the plant. "That's a blue camellia, an extremely rare herb," Michael immediately exclaimed after seeing the flower. He was overjoyed as hurried up to the plant to carefully examine it. "This blue camellia seems to have grown for tens of thousands of years here. I knew there must be quite a few rare resources here. This place is freaking dangerous, but it's also an untapped treasure trove," murmured Michael. Afterward, he gently uprooted the plant from the ground. Amateurs would have only picked the flower, but he was not an amateur. He planned to grow the herb in his herbal garden. Others must wait thousands of years to get the absolute best of the herb as the medicinal qualities of the herb increased with maturity, but he had the system. It could definitely make the herb become mature without having to wait thousands of years. Chapter 159. Michael lifted the herb gently. "I need to save Christopher and make him reach the soul refining stage no matter what." He then stored the herb in his system storage so its medicinal effects would not dissipate. Michael could not help but smile when he gathered another precious herb to plant in his herbal garden. The blue camellia flower was extremely rare as well as hard to grow in ordinary locations. If it wasn't for the system, he wouldn't have uprooted the plant, as he wouldn't be able to grow it somewhere else. "This is not the place nor the time to go on a treasure hunt, kid." Spectre's voice appeared again as he turned to see the old man still following him. "The mist must have some chemicals that induce hallucinations, just like the fear toxin." "That was definitely not just an illusion," he said to himself, looking at Spectre, his mentor. He was doing his best to ignore the old man, but it was damn hard to neglect the lifelike person who follows him everywhere. "Since I'm here, I might as well make the most of it." Besides following the trail of Layla, he decided to occasionally deviate from his path to find more rare herbs. Michael no longer paid any more attention to Spectre. He just used the lightning dash, turning into a bolt of lightning to move in the direction of Layla's trail. The scenery around him suddenly began to change greatly just after traveling a few kilometers. The world suddenly darkened. He discovered that he had strangely arrived at a vast starry sky. Countless stars filled every inch of the space, so densely packed that it was innumerable. He had no sense for direction at all in the vast starry sky. It was the same everywhere, without any differences. Michael discovered that he was completely and utterly lost when he had arrived here, actually unable to tell which direction was north or south, east or west. He could not even tell which way was up or down, left or right. "Oh, come on, another freaking illusionary formation," Michael murmured with a soft voice as he became stern. He knew that the formation this time was much more powerful and profound. It had already conjured a starry sky as soon as it appeared. Other ordinary formations could not be compared to this. "This'll be troublesome. I'm completely disoriented, so I probably can't walk out of it. Just how am I supposed to break out of this illusion? It must have been cast down by a great person from the ancient dragon clan." Looking at the handiwork, "I might not be able to break the formation using raw strength, but if I could only find its source," Michael mumbled. The memories of Obras came to help. Apparently, Obras had learned about formations in the sanctuary from the elders. Cultivators who were on or above the soul refining stage could use the celestial energy to break most of the formations. It was the simplest and fail-proof method. Considering Michael didn't have celestial energy in his body, he had to look for a source which is powering the formation. Finding the source would be pretty hard and nearly impossible for others but him. It was relatively simple thanks to the perception pills. Inside the illusionary formation, he was surrounded by countless stars as he felt like he was floating in the middle of the freaking Milky Way. "Alright, where are you hiding?" He looked around the stars after eating perception pills like Tic Tacs. Since he maintained a healthy diet, exercise, and his cultivation were regulated through the system, he did not have to worry about polluting his body by taking too many pills. It was one of the perks of having a system. After taking the perception pills, the Milky Way surrounding him became more lucid as he could see each star clearer. All the stars around him were flickering twice in a regular interval. Each star radiated a unique color, none looked similar to another one. Staring at thousands, even millions of stars, his head ached as he rubbed his temples. Eventually, after a few hours of studying the patterns of the flickering stars, he found a star in the distance that flickered a millisecond faster than the others. This difference would have been impossible to find out if it wasn't for the perception pills. Locking his gaze at the star, he felt a sense of accomplishment. There you are, he unsheathed his sword and threw the sword aiming right at the star. The sword soared through the starry sky, soon piercing the star while producing a faint humming sound. After the sword pierced the start, he only felt the wild whistling of the wind, and soon afterward, his vision suddenly brightened. He had already left the illusion of the starry sky, returning to the treacherous ocean once again. Around him stood the familiar mountains and hills. Heck yeah! He couldn't help but shout with a sense of pride after breaking the formation without depending on Layla. However, he did not dare to linger any longer. Lightning dash, he activated the spell, turning himself into a bolt of lightning before advancing through the depths of the mountain at an extremely great speed. Soon enough, he stopped before a small, 3-meter-tall tree. The tree was neither too wide nor too thin. It was a healthy tree with dense leaves and thick branches, and through the dense thicket were a few, fist-sized red fruits, slightly obscured by the leaves. They were like apples, but their red skin glowed. Silk apples, his eyes sparkled in excitement. Among all the potions and pills he knew, 90% of them tasted horrible, including the perception pills he just took. When he was eating them, he felt like he was chewing a rubbery egg. Although silk apples didn't have medicinal qualities like blue camellia, it was one of the very few fruits that could change a pill's or a potion's fragrance and taste as well as enhance the pill's effects to a certain level. An alchemist would pay a small fortune to get their hands on silk apples because these fruits were extremely scarce in Elan or any other continents. Michael climbed slowly, making his way up to the tree to pick the fruits. One by one, he picked all the fruits, and because the system storage would keep herbs as well as fruits like this fresh without letting the medicinal qualities dissipate, Michael cleaned the entire tree with no concerns. A smile appeared on Michael's face as he looked at the 20 glowing apples in the system storage. He could feel the extraordinarily great alchemical effects of the fruits. They were at least 1,000 years old, or even several thousand years old. These fruits should be able to enhance the effects of my products by quite a lot, Michael mumbled to himself, before taking one fruit for storage and exiting the system. Crack! This is good, he couldn't help but praise the fruit when he took a bite. The silk apple was soft yet crunchy and juicy. The sweetness made his taste buds and the tongue dance in joy. While savoring the apple, he resumed his journey following the trail left behind Layla, and he did not forget to check his surroundings for more rare fruits or herbs. On his way following the trails, he avoided many mutated beings with the help of the baby dragon's aura. Due to Michael's utmost calmness and cautiousness, Spectre's figure flickered constantly. He felt the effects of the mist fading away from his body. After a long time, he experienced calmness and breathed a sigh of relief. However, this feeling did not last long because suddenly, many mutated beings at various stages detected Michael somehow. They produced angered roars as they began chasing him. Oh, come on! Michael's mood became gloomy. He quickly unsheathed the 2 swords from the dual sheaths attached to his back. Several wild beast-like roars immediately arose in response as soon as they saw a group of mutated beings following Michael's presence. Several dozen powerful presences appeared immediately, quickly approaching the area. The roars from the surroundings grew closer and closer. Michael could already see the figures of a dozen or so mutated beings, currently him. He immediately filled every corner of his body with arch energy, making preparations for the strategic retreat, aka running away. The surroundings around Michael suddenly changed greatly. The lush mountains and forest disappeared, and so did the figures of the mutated beings. He had arrived at a blood-red world, where an edgeless sea of blood laid beneath their feet. It constantly bubbled like boiling water, but there was no heat at all. Fuck, it's another formation, Michael cursed, realizing that he had fallen into another formation. The sea of blood below began to surge suddenly, like a roaring wave. A big cluster of blood rose from it, slowly forming a huge dragon head. Roar! The dragon head, completely made from blood, roared at the sky. Powerful sound waves rocked through the entire world of blood, and shortly afterward, the head rose from the blood towards the sky, revealing a 100-meter-long crimson-scaled dragon. He felt like he was in the Hobbit movie, only this time, it was terrifying. Although this dragon resembled Smaug, the dragon in the Hobbit movie, this dragon was at least 5 times bigger, meaner, and frightening. A few figures flickered in the surroundings at the same time. The mutated beings who were pursuing Michael had also entered the formation. They directly charged for Michael, paying no heed to the blood dragon. Chapter 160 Roar. The 100-meter-long blood dragon produced a roar that shook the sea of blood. Opening its mouth, it breathed scorching hot fire, surging directly for the corpses. The blood dragon did not seem to exist to the mutated beings, all they had in their sight was Michael, nothing else. They did not avoid the dragon's breath at all, they just wanted to rip Michael apart. The enormous dragon breath directly engulfed over 10 of them. However, this was not just an illusionary formation, as Layla said before, this was made of 2 formations, killing and illusionary formation. Therefore the fire ate away a large portion of the mutated beings' bodies as Michael watched on in shock. As expected, their indestructible bodies came into place soon afterward, they returned to how they were before, continuing their charge at Michael. He immediately activated the lightning dash and ran over the sea of blood, getting far away from the mutated beings. The blood dragon seemed to have felt seriously challenged after seeing how its dragon breath did absolutely nothing to the mutated beings. It roared angrily and swung its front claws at the mutated beings. The blood dragon was extremely powerful as it was radiating an aura of a level 10 soul refining stage beast. Before the dragon's claws, the core strengthening and core formation mutated beings were like soft butter as they were ripped in half by the dragon. The blood dragon did not stop with just that. It suddenly turned its great head towards Michael, raising its claw once again and swinging it as a blood-red blur at him. Sensing the danger, his neck hairs suddenly stood up. He immediately leaped into the air using all of his strength, which led to the claw sweeping through thin air. Just as he was in mid-air, another 10 or so mutated beings appeared within the sea of blood. Their arrival immediately drew the blood dragon's attention. Its claws swept out once again towards the mutated beings, roaring in fury. Shit, he was jumping around, barely escaping both the dragon and the mutated beings. The only thing that helped him was the vast number of mutated beings that kept the blood dragon from targeting him. He was running out of perception pills, but he was not in the state to worry about that. Swallowing a couple of pills again, he focused on finding the formation source while evading the attacks. Although he used the lightning dash and was very agile, the mutated beings were still able to land some attacks. System, keep the healing potions coming. He was gulping the healing potion and saving it in his mouth. Every time he sensed that he can't evade, he would immediately swallow the healing potion in his mouth so it would keep him from being severely wounded yet. His skin has slightly turned pale due to the blood loss. At the moment, there were numerous bloody wounds in his body and the black Neo suit was in a very sorry state. He was soaked in blood and there was not a single place in his body that remained untouched by his blood. What restricted his movements more was the baby dragon in his pocket. He did not only have to evade the attacks but he also had to keep the baby dragon in his pocket safe. This whole trip would be pointless if he let the baby dragon get killed now. Finally, after almost an hour of surviving the formation, he eventually found the formation source. The source of the formation was hidden extremely well and he doubted that he could have found it without the perception pills. The source of the formation was nothing but one of the mutated beings that pretended to be trapped inside the formation. The moment Michael sent a bolt of lightning through its head, the sea of blood, as well as the blood dragon, disappeared. The next moment he appeared among the mountains once again. Give me a break, he desperately wanted to lay on the ground, healing the wounds, but beast-like roars constantly resounded in the surroundings. Several dozen mutated beings had already appeared, all charging towards him. A powerful presence that completely exceeded that of soul-refining mutated beings far away at this moment. It shot towards them several times faster than the mutated beings. Michael immediately became stern. He wiped off the blood from his face. Fuck, that's the presence of a fusion stage. Michael's face paled slightly. This was not the end. Up ahead appeared another abnormally powerful presence. It was actually another fusion stage being. 2 fusion stage. Michael exclaimed. His face had become completely drained of blood. He could barely survive a soul-refining stage mutated being if he was at his absolute best, in front of not 1 but 2 fusion stage mutated beings. He did not even think he could last a few seconds. At this moment, he wanted the system to come out of the safe mode like never before. However, he did not roll down and die. He retrieved 2 healing potions and gulped them in one go before activating the lightning dash using all of his remaining arch energy. Roar! He quickly shot through the mountains and forests. Behind him, the 2 fusion stage mutated beings remained close, pursuing them and unwilling to let them escape. They all flew just below the 10-meter threshold. He thanked himself for upgrading the lightning dash to level 2. If it wasn't for this spell, the fusion stage mutated beings would have caught him a long time ago. Suddenly, the nearby space suddenly began to twist when the 2 fusion stage beings were only 1,000 meters from him. The scenery before him changed in the blink of an eye. He was now standing in a bleak wasteland, completely barren of any greenery. It stretched as far as the eye could see. A towering battle intent suddenly appeared far away, so powerful that it was far beyond Michael's reckoning. It was filled with a condescending aura as if nothing in the world seemed significant to it, where he was the overlord of the world. Bang! 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 Suddenly, booms began to resound from afar. The land trembled rhythmically. Michael paled as he heard the sounds. Every boom coincided with his heartbeat. It seemed mysteriously connected, causing his heart to ache painfully every time it sounded out, like someone grinding their foot on his heart. He felt like his heart was about to explode. Arg! Michael clenched his chest in some pain. He had already become pale white, while his forehead was already wet with a layer of sweat droplets. He was astounded. What is this formation? It's so terrifying. Just the sounds from it are enough to suck away my strength. An ape-like figure clad in golden armor slowly appeared in the distance near the horizon. He walked over slowly, step by step, causing the ground to shake violently every time his foot fell. It seemed to be like stepping on Michael's heart as well, causing his pain to become more intense. The figure seemed to advance slowly, but the few steps he took covered great distances, appearing several hundred meters from Michael. The figure resembled King Kong to Michael, and even from a distance, Michael could see the pair of eyes burning with surgeon battle intent. He was extremely burly, almost 10 or 12 meters in height, wide and stocky. Michael became even paler after seeing the figure. For the first time ever, he had lost all courage for battle in front of the giant. The ape's battle intent and his aura had collapsed Michael's psychological line of defense. Deep down in his heart, Michael was terrified. Warning. Unknown energy. The system urges the host to leave immediately. His vision was suddenly filled with red warning boxes and he heard the system's screams in his mind. Who's this person? Why can't I sense his cultivation? Michael's emotions tossed and turned. Another 2 figures appeared in the bleak wasteland at this moment. The fusion stage mutated beings had also entered the formation in pursuit of Michael. They charged towards him as soon as they appeared. He immediately activated the lightning dash, running away from the 2 fusion stage mutated beings. At the same time, the man moved. He slowly raised his fist, and a heavy voice boomed in the surroundings, "Death to those who dare to intrude the land of Edros." The ape screamed, beating its chest violently, and then, it punched the air with devastating battle intent. The entire region began to appear so weak, so fragile before the man's fist. At the same moment, time seemed to completely stop. Only the ape's large fist moved. In this instance, the two fusion stage muted beings as well as Michael all felt that they had lost control of their bodies. They could only watch on blankly as the ape's fist grew bigger and bigger into a gigantic ethereal fist. Swish! Just as the ethereal fist was approaching them, a flash of blue appeared inside Michael's head, revealing the formation's source. "Quick!" The system's voice was panic-stricken. He did not waste the precious seconds as he sent a bolt of lightning using the last of his arch-energy towards the source, which was a boulder nearby. The scenery changed the moment the lightning bolt destroyed the boulder. Michael finally regained control of his body after he left the formation space. His forehead was littered with droplets of sweat, while his heart tossed and turned. He was extremely perturbed. What the fuck just happened? Edros. I know this name, the heavy voice boomed through Michael's head again and again. His entire body began to tremble slightly. He searched through Obras' memories and revealed everything he knew about Edros, the king of the Beastmen race. The Beastmen race's king, Edros, was an existence that surpassed immortals. He was a godlike figure revered by all the Beastmen as well as magical beasts. Michael immediately turned around to look back. All he saw was the two fusion stage mutated beings standing blankly several hundred meters away. A few moments after, a loud boom sound could be heard as they turned into dust and disintegrated. They showed no signs of reforming even after a lengthy time. A big droplet of dark crimson blood floated nearby that glowed brightly, several meters above the ground. You're tuning into the Path of the True Immortal YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.